What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. 10 MP Chapter 236 Preparations before the war. All shinobi villages have to send their elites to stand by in the land of water. It has to be said that the subtle effects of the MoonNet project and the spatial channels established in various ninja villages have already been reflected at this time. If it is replaced by the previous Ninja World, then the Five Shadows will definitely find it extremely difficult to face the current situation. After all, the enemy is overseas, and the Mist Ninja Village and the Land of Water must be the first targets of the enemy, while other ninja villages are difficult to support quickly, and it is impossible to support. After all, in the original Ninja World, if a large number of ninjas were sent out of the village, it would be necessary to guard against more attacks from other nearby ninja villages in a short period of time, and it would be difficult to quickly return to defense. Moreover, the original Mist Ninja Village is absolutely 470, and it is impossible for ninjas from other ninja villages to freely enter the country of water. But now the situation is different. After the integration of the entire ninja world, the relationship between the villages has been greatly eased. After all, no one wants to be isolated by the ninja world. In the case of complete internal unity, the entire ninja world can achieve unprecedented, overall mobilization. Just after the meeting of the Five Shadows ended, the ninjas of the whole ninja world started a large-scale activity. Most of the ninjas above Chunin, except for a very small part who need to perform some basic tasks of guarding the ninja world and transmitting information, almost all other ninjas went to Mist Ninja Village at the first time. Outside Mist Ninja Village, a temporary port to the target sea area was quickly opened, and a large number of ships were docked, and various fortifications were also built. The military forces of the major ninja villages quickly gathered in this temporary area, and they were monitoring the target sea area without any spare seconds. And this huge amount of action and engineering is unimaginable for any single ninja village in the ninja world before. And within this temporary combat readiness area, there are still several huge space passages, and ninjas from various ninja villages are constantly walking through them. Advertisement, especially in the largest space passage in the center, it is directly connected to an area of the headquarters of the Ninja World Association, and what stayed in that area was also Naruto Otsutsugi and his son who were sleeping. Sage of 6 Paths in. As for the timing of Onishima's attack, a conclusion was quickly drawn as the combat preparations progressed. Tomorrow evening. After hearing the words of Nara Shihisa, who was in charge of delivering the information in front of them, Purgatory Kyojiro and Hitsugaya Yishiro also raised their eyebrows slightly. Tomorrow? Yoshiro asked with a frown. For the two messengers of Jingling and the ghost-killing team in front of him, Nara Shikahisa naturally wouldn't take it lightly. Tomorrow, Jingling may not be able to send other captains here. Our ghost-killing team is also here. Although the Lord has already ordered, it will take more time for the other columns to arrive. Kashuro and Yishiro seem to feel that time is a little too hasty. And Nara Shikaku also nodded. Time is in a hurry, but this is also something that can't be helped. After all, infant's death couldn't be hidden for too long, and Yuhi Mahong's existence was discovered by Naruto before, so Onishima would probably move in a short period of time. It turns out, it's amazing. So the ninja world is naturally anxious. Advertisement, as I said before, this time, the ninja world is actually the first to bear the brunt. As for other small and medium-sized ninja villages, almost all of them have been dispatched. But there seemed to be an inexplicable meaning in his eyes. Even if the balance is broken and the ninja world is captured by the beasts and the ghost clan, the strength of Jingling and the ghost-killing team can only be said to be a loss at best, so naturally I hope to wait for the mature time. The elites of other ninja villages have arrived? All the ninja villages in the ninja world? Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Nara Shikahisa is obviously very proud of the cohesion and action of the ninja world now. Relatively speaking, the dusk in the middle period is undoubtedly the best choice. Well, our 5 major ninja villages have only left a small number of ninjas to stay in the village. As Konoha's think tank, he naturally understands the reason why 5 Shadows made this decision. Waiting for the support of the ghost-killing team and Jingling is undoubtedly a good choice, but the time is obviously too late. And Kashuru seemed to be surprised and praised so much. As for the time chosen at dusk, it was also considered that the strength of the ghost clan would increase at night, and if they attacked during the day, it would be easy to be discovered. After hearing that the elites of Shinobi Village had arrived, Kashuru also asked a question. But for the ninja world, this is all the opportunity for this sneak attack. For the 5 Shadows, even if it is the best time of action in the ninja world. Yes, most of the elite of Ninja Village have arrived, and if we continue to wait, it will be easy for the enemy to discover our actions. Chapter 237, Auto-Generated Chapter Title. 2.6 At the same time, there was a secret place in the ninja village of the river country. Will the attack begin at dusk tomorrow? A man with a red body and a translucent appearance sat in the secret room. The crimson samsara eyes in his eyes exuded a strange light, and at this time he seemed to be observing the situation on the frontline battlefield in some way. The 2 dangerous guys at the headquarters of the Ninja World Association will go to the front line to fight the 2 previous enemies. The vision of the monster Otsutsugi Knight should also be focused there. 3. It's an opportunity, and he is not a policeman. It is Otsutsuki Wangchen who escaped from Konoha and has not been seen since. Chapter 237 As expected of me, What a perfect plan. It's an opportunity. Otsutsugi Wangchen, who was sitting in the secret room of Tangnin village, was also muttering to himself at this time. On the other side of the secret room, a middle-aged ninja wearing a Soup Ninja Village forehead was also standing beside him with eyes blank. And this middle-aged ninja is also the leader of Tang Ren's current village. But at this time, he was obviously under the control of Otsutsugi Huangquan, as Yi Lin had expected. And recently, Otsutsugi Huangquan used this ninja to get news of the ninja world, and has been hiding in the Soup Ninja Village. But I have to mention that even Otsutsugi Huangquan himself can only use 2 words to describe the current situation of the ninja world. After Otsutsugi Wangchen escaped from the seal, he first sent back a lot of information about the planet to the Otsutsugi clan. And then, he quickly realized that the difference between the ninja world he knew and the current ninja world was really too big. After all, he was sealed a few rough years ago, and in the middle of these rough years, the only way for him to understand the outside world is to rely on those ninjas who signed contracts with him and sealed them with ghouls, them. And the use of ghouls to seal the ninjas has not been too many since ancient times, and it is almost every few decades to continue to rhyme. So the knowledge and information he knew about the ninja world was actually still decades ago. So during this period of time, he also spent a lot of time and finally figured out the weird and confusing situation in the ninja world. Whether it was the establishment of the Ninja World Association, the existence of several secret forces gradually became clear, making Otsutsugi Huangquan feel like he was reading a novel. And soon afterward, he also realized the limitations that these changes in the ninja world brought to him. Advertisement, of course. If it was Otsutsugi Wangchen who just came to this planet a few rough years ago, then he would definitely not care about any so-called ninja forces. At that time, he would only sneer with his arrogance. I laugh at that indigenous arrogance. It can be reduced in the palm of your hand. But now, after these rough years, he has undoubtedly become a wily character. Therefore, he also knows that his own position is hostile to the ninja world and to the other secret forces. And the first thing he has to do is to rescue his partner Otsutsuki Buddha from the seal. And he already knew the location of the rescue, which was in the Tangzi festival tent in Tangren village. But the key point is that this seal was set by Kagaya in the past, and this gong for the festival of soup was obviously added by Kagaya in order to ensure the stability of the seal. And from the battle a few rough years ago, it can be seen that Kaguya's power is even more than that of Otsutsuki Wangchen in his heyday, let alone now. And if Otsutsuki Wangchen wanted to break the seal, he would definitely make a lot of noise. At least this Tang ninja village would probably be annihilated directly by the power of the seal. Therefore, Otsutsuki Wangchen naturally did not dare to act casually. That guy Otsutsuki Knight still exists on this planet and has not been sealed. Thinking of the old rival Otsutsuki Yi he met not long ago, Otsutsuki Wangchen felt a deep fear. Although he didn't know why Otsutsuki Yi didn't summon the powerful summoning beast this time, and his strength seemed to drop a little, he could be sure that the other party was indeed not sealed or disappeared. And according to his current information, with the power of that monster, he actually joined an organization called World Government, and he himself is only one of the 5 leaders of that organization. In addition to the World Government, there are also several hidden forces that are also called World Government. As expected of me. What a perfect plan. It can also be seen how far this planet has metamorphosed. Advertisement then, they just need to wait for the information of the clan, and then lead the army of the clan to this planet for destruction. As for the information that he had collected, Otsutsuki Wangchen was naturally shocked and afraid. If the information was true, wouldn't it mean that he, Otsutsuki Wangchen, might not be in the top 10 on this planet? And more importantly, he knew that 9 times out of 10 these things were true. All the strong men in the ninja world, including his most dreaded Otsutsuki Shuren, will be near the country of water, and a large number of ninjas have also been dispatched from the Tang ninja village. After all, he has seen Kaido, Sage of 6 Paths and Nagato before. On this planet, the number of master monsters is really huge, almost to an unbelievable exaggeration. So even though he knew that his partner was being sealed nearby, Otsutsuki Huangquan had been staying in Tang Nin village, waiting for the right moment. And as long as his plan is successful, then even if the ninja world finds out that the situation is not right, it is absolutely enough for the 2 of them to hide or protect themselves. In this case, Otsutsuki Wangchen is naturally more. In addition to controlling the leader of Tang Ren village to obtain information, he has never revealed any trace of himself, and it can be said that he is as stable as an old dog. And in this way, he can naturally use this opportunity to release the rhyme from the Otsutsuki Buddha and then leave. In particular, Sage of 6 Paths, which has appeared before, can actually use Yin-Yang 6 Paths planetary devastation. How many monsters have been born on this planet in the past few years? And now, it is the best opportunity for him to feel that the time is right. He knew that once his body was exposed, the Ninja World Association would attack, and Otsutsuki would attack with the monsters of the world government. Wouldn't he have to be sealed by Yin-Yang 6 Paths planetary devastation again on the spot? Here? And you must know that all the planets he has descended on and destroyed before, basically can't find a few strong people who can compete with him. Chapter 238 Under the Sea, the Giant Army. Above the sea, a large number of ships carry the army of the ninja world. The flag of the ship is not the flag of any ninja village, but the ninja flag unique to the Ninja World Association. The whole ship is activated by the formations and scrolls of Shutong and Wind style, and it is an advanced creation unique to the country of water. At this time, the ship was heading for their destination this time. The Island of Ghosts. On the flagship in front of the fleet, none of the 5 shadows are listed. But at this time, their expressions were all solemn. Because although they can't see due to the shielding of the barrier, they all know that they are very close to the Island of Ghosts. And all the ninjas have already entered the state of combat readiness with kunai. No one can guarantee that they will not be detected early, and no one can guarantee that the battle will not start immediately. But in fact, their luck does seem to be very good. Has entered the enchantment range. They were not discovered until their ships touched the huge barrier that enveloped the entire island. Prepare to break the barrier. At this time, the 5 shadows also issued an order. So a group of ninjas who had already been prepared for a long time also began to seal. They are special ninjas selected from major ninja villages, and without exception are ninjas who are good at sealing techniques or enchantment. The meaning of their existence is to reduce the momentum as much as possible while breaking the enchantment. After all, the 5 shadows know, although this rhyme movement can undoubtedly be said to be most of the elite power of the ninja world. But in the face of the situation that has been analyzed countless times on the Island of Ghosts, they are definitely at a disadvantage in terms of absolute strength. Therefore, the tactics of action are also determined from the beginning. This is not a frontal war, but a raid on the opponent's nest. After hearing Wu Ying's order, the spirit formation team also nodded at the same time. Advertisement. Then they stretched out their hands in unison, and each took out their own enchantment scroll or their unique forbearance mark. Enchantment. Solution. Asterisk. And with the eruption of Chara and the formation of countless ninja seals that broke the barrier, a hole appeared on the originally empty sea in front of the ninja army fleet. The air cracked like broken glass, and the sea surface was still in the crack. But at the end of the sea, the majestic and pitch-black body of a huge island was faintly visible. Get in quickly. So without further ado, the fleet of the Ninja World Army sailed into this hole. Then, they saw the whole picture of the island from a distance. So they also understood why this island was called the Island of Oni. Because its overall image is indeed like the head of an evil spirit. The huge double horns pierce the sky, the huge high Yamanaka in the middle of the island has 2 hollows, and there are even strange rocks like sharp teeth. Although Mako Yuhi already knew the appearance of this island from Mako Yuhi's previous description, when they actually saw it, everyone still felt an indescribable sense of oppression. This made them unable to resist clenching the swords in their hands. But as the fleet continued to move forward, the scene that made them even more shocking appeared. But this time it's not on the Island of Ghosts or the sea, but on. Look, below. The first one who noticed the abnormality was Akiran Anbu. As Akiran, he often used ships and oceans to enter the territory of other ninja villages to perform missions. Therefore, he who has been on the sea for a long time will observe the sea almost subconsciously. It is precisely because of this that he was the first to discover what was below. After hearing his words, the other ninjas all looked down at the sea. Then, their pupils shrank at the same time, especially Namikaze Minato and 4th Reikage. The expressions at this time flashed an unbelievable fear. That's right, even if they are cage-level powerhouses, the humorist that controls the ninja village, and the people who hold the power in the ninja world. Advertisement, however, it was difficult for them to control the fear in their hearts at this time. Because at this time they can see that there are huge figures under the sea. Their bodies were as tall as hills, and their facial expressions were covered by the seawater, forming strange dark giant shadows. But even if it's just a dark shadow, ninjas can recognize what it is. It's the army of giants that Hueco Mundo has seen. They are hidden under the sea. Fortunately, we discovered their conspiracy. The police even said that among the 5 great ninja villages, 2 inland ninja villages had no ocean at all, and the remaining 2 ninja villages knew almost nothing about the ocean. Under the sunlight, those shadows made the ninjas feel no warmth in their hearts, only a sense of coldness kept coming. Once these giant armies are activated, if they land from the bottom of the sea, in all likelihood, the entire ninja world will not even have the slightest warning response. Ninjas who had seen this kind of war creation in Hueco Mundo in the past immediately recognized these monsters that had caused them heavy losses and even left psychological shadows in the past. There is no doubt that this is a terrible conspiracy. Just from the perspective of the spreading Black Sea, one can imagine how large the number of giants below are. There is no place to hide such a huge army in the ninja world, but only the bottom of the sea is an exception. Tsuchikage Onogi spoke coldly, and there was a trembling in his words that was extremely rare in his long life. These giants are likely to drive straight in, attacking until the inside of the ninja world will be discovered. Then, they will land from the bottom of the sea, flatten the world of ninjas. They are stockpiling. Even the Mist Ninja who has done the best in ocean exploration, the binding force of the ocean is still very small. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. The 5 shadows can even assert. At that time, it will undoubtedly be a disaster. This is equivalent to all the measures deployed by the ninja world against the ghosts, the beasts of the world government, and the pirates before all non-existent. Once the deployment and preparations on the Oni Island are completed, the Oni Island, and the 4 emperors, who are expecting a mighty war, will activate these giant armies. And what makes them even more unacceptable is that now they look around, the vastness of the dark giant shadow on the bottom of the sea spreads to the end of their vision, which can be said to be almost endless. Chapter 239 5 Shadows Decision. Yi Lin's Plan. Fortunately, we discovered their conspiracy. When all the ninjas were shocked and worried by the countless giant army under the sea, Namikaze Minato said such a sentence. The other 4 shadows were stunned when they heard the words, and then nodded. Think about it, really, although the discovery of these giant armies made them shocked and apprehensive. But in a way, it's also a good thing. If they don't know anything, being attacked by these giants must be a disaster. But fortunately, they chose to raid the island of ghosts this time. Thus discovered these monsters hidden in the seabed. Once there is an early warning, then based on their previous experience of fighting the giant army, at least they will not have no ability to resist. Don't think too much. At this time, Reikage also said in a deep voice. There are so many things we can't handle. 5. Our purpose is to attack the island of ghosts. Once the plans of those monsters are disintegrated, it is equivalent to solving the giant army in disguise. It's hard to say, but it's the truth. The number of the giant army below, even if the presence of almost all the elites of the ninja world, is impossible to deal with. Or as 470 said, if these giants are all activated again, then the ninjas will be in great danger. In fact, this is also the status quo of the ninja face to those ancient forces. They are just surviving in the cracks. Even with the establishment of the Ninja World Association, they still cannot change this. This is their greatest weakness and also their greatest strength. They are only weak people who survive in the cracks, so they can't deal with these giant armies, and they don't need to deal with them. The only thing they need to do is to continue their beheading plan. Go to the island of Oni and explore the plans of the Oni King and Kaido. Advertisements successfully detect and block each other's plans, then they will get some breathing time. After Kaido and the King of Ghosts know that the plan has been discovered, they will definitely be afraid of the Ghost Killing Team, the world government and the Jingling Ting, so as to evacuate the giant army from the bottom of the sea. This is how the brains of the ninja world define the current ninja world. They are not the main force, nor are they players outside the chessboard. They are the fuse that ignites their own, and the pawns that act for self-preservation. In the mutual restraint of these ancient forces, Ying's own strength is accumulated. Leave the fleet with the Jonin, the others, back to the land of water. But there is no doubt that the existence of the giant army has also changed the thoughts of the 5 shadows. Originally, their plan was to occupy an area of the island with elite ninjas such as Gokage and elite Jonin as pioneer officers after entering the island of Oni. While other Chunin, Genin or Jonin who are not strong in combat ability are used as the rear battle formation, with the help of ninjutsu, detonating Fukanai and other long-range attacks. After forming a battle formation, attack frontally and fight positional warfare. In this way, the relatively big advantage of the ninja world at present can reflect the rhyme. That is, there are many people, and if you fight head-on, you can at least form an impact. But now, things have naturally changed. Jonin's fleet and we move on, Chunin and Genin's forces. Back to the land of water at once. Once the situation changes, Hokage will use the Flying Thor to send the information back immediately. 19. After thinking for a while, the 5 shadows made a decision. Under the situation of the giant army below, a frontal attack is undoubtedly impossible. Once they landed on the island of Oni, once the frontal army collided, then when the giant army was activated, Chunin and Genin would have absolutely no ability to resist. Therefore, they can only make small-scale elite breakthroughs rather than head-to-head with the originally planned ninja army. So Chunin and the Genins, AGCG, though unwilling, finally followed the orders of the 5 shadows. In an instant, most of the fleet of the ninja army stopped advancing. The rest, let's move on. Afterwards, the 5 shadows also ordered to move on. And while driving on the sea full of dark giant shadows, all the ninjas were silent, for fear of disturbing the giant army below. Advertisement, but the ninjas would never know. In fact, on the bottom of the sea below them, there is no giant army at all. No matter the dark figures or the giants under the sea, from beginning to end, they are all just a body. Fantasy materialized. Eternal God. On the other side, Yi Lin, who was staying on the island of ghosts, naturally watched the whole process of the ninja world. As the director, villain, and protagonist of this event, Yi Lin was naturally prepared long ago. Of course he couldn't let the ninja army really land directly on the island. He knows best himself that in the final analysis, he has only 3 or 2 big cats and kittens on this island. If the entire army of the ninja world went to the island together, then he could only use a few 6 pads level puppets to destroy the other party. This was not in line with his original plan. He didn't plan to really wipe out the ninja world from the beginning. He worked hard to perform such a big play, and there were only 3 purposes from start to finish. First, conduct a large-scale battle to extract more puppets as soon as possible. Second, there is a certain mouse. Third, give everyone in the ninja world some small stimulus to make them stronger quickly, and choose to join the Yamato, Jingling, Ghost Killing Team, this kind of friendly ancient force. As for the final purpose of these 3 purposes, there is only one. That was to counter the attack of the Otsutsugi clan that had come for some reason. The two pillars and the prince have both been born, plus Naruto Otsutsugi and Sage of Six Paths, and the existence of the Ninja Association. The potential of the new generation will soon be stimulated. 99. After the pressure I gave, the future of the ninja world is full of potential. The first people from the Otsutsugi clan are here, they should be able to help me withstand a round of pressure stably. It is precisely because he understands this that Yi Linji specially used fantasy materialization to materialize the shells of these giant puppets at the bottom of the sea, to scare away most of the non-elite combat power in the ninja world. In fact, his plan was very successful. Next. While whispering, Yi Lin is also looking at the complicated system. Fantong, I want to exchange something. Chapter 240 Temporary Puppet, Land on the Island. Open black lens bracket props in this round of shopping malls. Close black lens bracket, Naza's Belly Kabuto B-level props 1000 points. Nobi Bear's workbook, C-class items 500 points. Temporary puppets, 3 times of use, B-level props 1000 points, tool, a total of 50 pieces. Open black lens bracket Shinigami's Apple A grade item minus 5000 points. In fact, the items refreshed in this round of traditional malls are not ideal if they are placed in normal times. Among them, the first 2 props have nothing to say, and they are basically useless things. As for the temporary puppet series of props number 3, Yi Lin had encountered many times before. He had also inquired about it in Fantong before, although this kind of temporary puppet also belongs to the puppet series that can be manipulated and exchanged by Fantong, its own evaluation is only B level. But rating B level does not mean their combat effectiveness is B level. In fact, these makeshift golems themselves are more like golem prototypes. They have the potential of S-rank golems or even SS rank strength and hardness, but without any combat capability. To put it bluntly, it is similar to the template of factory mass production rhyme, but it has not yet applied the skills and power of any character. According to the system, this thing needs to be used with other props extracted from the traditional system. For example, Yi Lin had previously exchanged the Sun Wheel Knife series, or the Giant Spinal Fluid series that he had seen in the mall, and the Perfect Ghost characteristic of Black Death Mo itself. These B-level temporary puppets can be strengthened in a targeted manner, so that they have actual combat effectiveness. Given the Sunblade, Yi Lin learns some swordsmanship on his own, so that the puppet can exert the combat effectiveness of an ordinary member-level police puppet of the Ghost Killing Squad. Giving spinal fluid turns the makeshift puppet into a giant-type puppet. By giving the blood of ghosts, the puppets can also be transformed into ghost puppets. But for the previous Yi Lin, this thing is obviously much more investment than income. Because if you want a B-level puppet to have the combat power of an A-level puppet, you need to invest at least 1 A-level item or even more. This back and forth, at least 6000 points. If you want a temporary puppet to have S-rank combat power, then the investment goes straight to 2 W+ points. But the point is, this thing can only be used 3 times even if it is made successfully. It is conceivable how much it would take to be able to use points like this. Therefore, Yi Lin naturally had never exchanged this thing. Although he has a lot of points on hand, it is not enough to be squandered at will. Advertisement, but this time, he chose to exchange. The reason is simple. After possessing the Phantasmagoria, I can completely empower these temporary puppets through the ability of Phantasmagoria. After possessing the perverted ability of power and fantasy materialization, from the moon world, Yi Lin's mind has already broadened a lot. This ability has almost become the most important and most potential ability among all his abilities so far. Because the ability to materialize fantasy is almost equivalent to an all-knowing and almighty wishing machine. As long as Yi Lin's own chara is enough, then he can theoretically manifest anything. For example, the Island of Ghosts, or the enchantment outside the Island of Ghosts, is embodied through this ability. With this ability, it is not difficult to give power to the puppets. The only problem is that this method of empowerment relies purely on Yi Lin to provide the ability. Once the utopian realization is lifted, those temporary puppets will return to their original, rhyme factory state. 0 But for Yi Lin, the temporary puppet was originally used temporarily, and he didn't care about it at all. With my current power, coupled with the energy of the Tailbeast batteries, it is impossible to make puppets above SSS level, and the duration of making SS level puppets will not be too long, 99. But if it's just an S class, it's not a big problem. Yi Lin, who had controlled multiple S-rank puppets at the same time, was very confident. If he now uses the realization of fantasy to empower the temporary puppet, at least 10 S-rank puppets can be made. The duration is not too long, but as long as it is not all enabled at the same time, then it is not a big problem to last a few hours. And this brand new idea is exactly the key to Yi Lin's preparations to try in this, on Ghost Island crusade. Fantong, I want to exchange for a temporary puppet. The exchange amount is 20 pieces, at the same time, behind Onishima Island. After the ships that Chunin and Genin were on chose to stop their evacuation from the land of backwaters, the remaining elite ninjas finally arrived at their destination. 0. For flowers. They docked the boat on the edge of an inconspicuous island, sheltered by a reef. As for the ninjas themselves, they used chakra to tread water and landed directly on the Island of Ghosts. And when they got close, they could already see the strange castle hanging over the ghost island. The castle itself does not seem to have an entrance, it hangs upside down in the clouds, and the twisted face exudes an ominous aura. Advertisement, that's Infinite City. Onogi looked at the city and spoke solemnly. According to the plan, Act. Keisuke Luosha's words were calm. Yep. Namikaze Minato also nodded in approval. Before the frequent dispatch, they had already ordered the countermeasures in advance. Zero, after going to the island, tried to avoid fighting with the enemies on the Island of Ghosts, and instead dived directly into the Infinite City. However, the ninjas have already figured out a way. This seems silly at first glance. After all, Infinite City is the enemy's lair, and sneaking in doesn't seem like there is no police in the area. Of course, this solution sounds perfect, but it also has loopholes. Each of the 5 shadows has a ninja scroll in their hands. Among them, each ninja tool scroll is divided and sealed with 10 ninja tools. Each ninja tool contains 300,000 detonating charms. In addition, each ninja scroll is processed with special ninja and formations before coming. Yes, as long as the people who landed on the island, including the 5 shadows, have already made preparations for sacrifice. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Then, notify the backup force in Kirinin Village through the imprint of the Flying Thunder God left by Namikaze Minato. Then, they will put down the scroll without hesitation. In other words, each ninja scroll is equivalent to 3 million detonating charms. They might have some means of preventing the evacuation. Then, the backup troops will evacuate through the power of Naruto Otsutsugi in the Ninja Association through a special ninja technique. As long as they successfully infiltrate Infinity City and make sure the Oni King and Kaido are there, figure out each other's purpose. After evacuating, detonate the detonating talisman through the ninja technique. But if they can't evacuate, the 5 shadows will detonate directly. Because it is clear that both Oni King and Kaido are 6 Paths level powerhouses that are not inferior to Naruto Otsutsugi. Chapter 241 Espada, Uncle Yami. After making a decision, the ninjas followed the plan and began to dive in, vigilantly and solemnly. And then they realized, they didn't seem to need to be so vigilant. When the 5 shadows led the ninja elites from the shadows and gaps of the islands to the Oi Mountain, located in the center of the Island of Ghosts, their hearts were a little complicated. Isn't it a little too smooth? Namikaze Minato, in particular, even asked this question at this time. It may sound strange, but that's what he thinks. They came this way, it was really smooth. Although I did see some enemies from a distance along the way, judging from their clothes, they seemed to be pirates under the command of the Beast Pirates. But without exception, these pirates seem to be just motherfuckers, not too powerful. They have been drinking and laughing all the time, and there is absolutely no 470 to find them. And the ninjas naturally won't be stunned by the grass, they just continue to sneak in. Then they discovered that they had sneaked into the Mountain of Ghosts. Judging from the current situation, it seems that the defense of the island of Oni is in charge of the Beast Pirates. And judging from the character of Beasts, Kaido, it is not surprising that the guys under his command have such a reckless temper. But Onogi shook his head and made an analysis. Everyone thought about it carefully and felt that it was quite reasonable. You must know that before, most of the reason for their vigilance was due to the situation caused by the 2 previous battles in Hueco Mundo and Konoha. In those 2 battles, the ninja world suffered a big loss without exception. Their plans have never been successfully implemented in the face of each other. But thinking about it carefully, the dominant party they faced in this battle was not Kaido. Basically, the 2 ancient existences, the King of Ghosts and the King of Void, caused them to suffer a big loss. In fact, in the judgment of the ninja world before coming here, the relationship between the 3 has long been analyzed. According to the analysis conducted by the researchers of the Ninja World Association, they judged that the question between the ghost family and the virtual family should be very deep. Ghosts and virtuals are very similar in ancient existences. The ghost eats flesh and blood, and the virtual eats the soul. The 2 are almost completely complementary and not in conflict. Therefore, the relationship between the 2 is like the art of cordyceps sinensis, and it should have a very long history. But correspondingly, Kaido's beast pirate is different. Pirates should also be just human beings, different from the ancient ghosts and ghosts. It is estimated that their inquiry will start in the next few years, and it will not be too deep. Advertisement and Kaido himself is a reckless man with muscles but not necessarily brains, so in the judgment of the Ninja World Association, the leader of the 3 major forces is the one with the lowest threat. According to the words of the captain of Jingling, the Island of Ghosts should be Kaido's lair. Even if these 3 major forces are asked, the dominance here is indeed the responsibility of the Beast Pirates. 93. If I'm not mistaken, most of the Ghost King and the powerhouses of the Ghost Clan, as well as the Espadas from Hueco Mundo, should all be in Infinite City. Onogi made such a fishing judgment. The other 4 shadows also nodded in approval of Onogi's statement. Just like Oyegi said, it is impossible for the major forces to be one with each other. Just like the current ninja world, the 5 major ninja villages have already done everything, but the major ninja villages do not mean that the disappearance and the 2 become one. If the 5 shadows are all meeting in Konoha, then the one who is in charge of the work of the entire shinobi village must be Konoha ninja. But even so, after entering this mountain, the defense force will definitely be greatly strengthened. 99. Terumi Mei then added. The ninjas nodded, but it was at this moment that the ninjas heard an indifferent voice coming from above their heads. It's just like what Lin-sama said, some bugs have sneaked in. I've said it a long time ago, the beasts are not to be trusted. After all, they are only human beings. The sound comes from 3 sources. When everyone saw it, their pupils suddenly shrank. The 3 figures that made the sound were all standing on a cliff in the mountain of ghosts above. On the far left is a female ghost with one-eyed black hair and a kimono pose that makes her identity the first to be judged and rhymed. It's the ghost that Zhenheng said. Beside Namikaze Minato, Jiraiya's words were full of solemnity. Because Yuhi Mako has already brought the other party's information before. One of the 12 ghost months, the chorus, the song girl. And the power of the 12 ghost moon has been fully confirmed by the ninja world before. Even the 5th, Jung, is enough to fight cage-level powerhouses. And, Black Death Mo, one of the ceilings, has an overwhelming power that can easily defeat Ying. In contrast, the strength of this powerful Naruto girl can also be imagined. In addition to Naruto, the 2 on the right were wearing similar silver-white clothing. Advertisement: one of them was a tall, bald man with a bald head and a white skeleton on his chin. The other is a thin, pale young man with a white skeleton helmet on his left head. Just by looking at the appearance, the 5 shadows knew that these 2 must be the existence of the virtual camp. And judging by the clothes, similar to that Zale Aporo, is it Espada? Reikage said coldly. The bugs in the ninja world react very quickly. The arrogant man sneered. Lousy is Espada under the command of the King of Void, Uncle Yami. As he spoke, he also had a powerful and violent Ryotsu from the explosive hook. I didn't expect to encounter so many prey as soon as I arrived here. Since I dared to enter the island, I, Uncle Yami, will deal with you today. He squeezed his wrist, and his hair clipped with a crisp clicking sound, as if he was about to shoot. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. But just as the ninjas are all geared up to defend against the coming attack, these 2 are undoubtedly 2 of the Hueco Mundo, Espadas. It's like all the good luck of the light therapy for their smooth move before. People like this circle just arrived, just happened to be bumped by them. And the other thin young man is even more so, although he did not show any strength, it can be seen from Yami's attitude. This is too coincidental. He glanced at everyone in the ninja world unhappily, but in the end he didn't say anything, but retreated behind the thin young man. After Yami heard the words, the violent Ryotsu actually began to gradually disappear. But watching this scene, the hearts of the 5 shadows became more and more solemn. Another thin young man spoke coldly. This guy in Espada should be a high pick, 99. After analyzing this situation, the 5 shadows could only smile bitterly. The 2 Espadas should have just come to the island of Oni, representing Hueco Mundo, in this project, and just happened to meet us. His words were flat and indifferent, and although the one who calls himself Yami is not known to be the number 1 in Espada, judging from the sense of oppression just around, his strength will definitely not be weak. Yami, don't do superfluous things, because it seems obvious. Chapter 242: The Evolution of the Ghost Giant. 2 Enchantments. The sigh of luck did not last long, because in front of everyone in the ninja world, there is no doubt that it is an extremely critical situation. The 3 beings in front of them, 2 are Espada and the other is the 4th evil ghost. They are already great enemies. What's more, this is not the ninja world, but the enemy's lair. Once the war starts at this time, the consequences are self-evident. But the ninjas also have a doubt at this time. That's why the other Espada suddenly stopped him when the Espada named Yami was about to do it on them. But this question, they soon had the answer. Lord Ulquiorra, Lord Yami, this is the island of ghosts. At this time, Naruto spoke softly. You are the guests who have come on behalf of the King of Void, and I welcome them in the name of my lord. 33. Naruto's one eye looked at the ninjas below, and a light squirt flashed in her eyes. It's just some bugs that sneak in, you don't need to be diligent. Her words fell, and the thin young man named Ulquiorra nodded lightly. We were ordered to go to Infinity City to meet the King of Ghosts, of course not because of them. There was almost no emotion in his words. 06. Please wind the 4th, send us to the Infinite City. 99. The words fell, and Naruto nodded lightly. Then, the 3 figures disappeared instantly. Been let go? Such an incredible thought flashed through the hearts of all ninjas. There is no doubt that it does appear to be the case as it stands now. Those 2 Espadas and a winding ghost actually left like this? However, all ninjas know that this is impossible. No matter how arrogant Espada and the evil spirit are, and how much they look down on them, there is absolutely no reason to let them go. The only possibility for them to leave is, all, prepare to fight. Reikage was the first to roar, and with his loud roar, the entire ground began to vibrate in the next instant. Advertisement, boom. Boom. To be precise, it is not the ground that shakes, but the entire island of Oni Island. All the ninjas almost instinctively looked at Fang Yu, who came from the giant sound and vibration. Then, they saw not far away, right in front of the mountain of ghosts. The huge smoke and dust continued to spread. In the smoke and dust, a huge figure wrapped in a white strange substance is slowly appearing. That's Ancestor Ymir, and all the ninjas who have been to Hueco Mundo in the past have recognized the origin of this huge figure at this time. That was the most terrifying giant they had ever encountered in Hueco Mundo, the monster that killed the previous Mizuka Jigura in one hit. The ancestor of giants, Ymir, and beside Ymir, there are a large number of other giants. These giants without exception have huge double horns, hideous faces and sharp fangs. Its appearance is no different from that of a demon. The ghost giant. More mature than then, and seeing this scene, where did the people in the ninja world still not understand? The evolution version of the giants and the ghosts that I met in Hueco Mundo in the past. But compared to then, the production of this giant seems to be fully mature now. Everyone used the remote ninjutsu, so Onogi, who had the most combat experience, also made a judgment immediately. In the face of the existence of ghost giants, fight with them in the flat area and find death without the police. Ninja, the art of the ninja sword. Fire style, the art of destruction of the flame dragon. Wind style Abby's wind, so the ninjas also started to seal immediately. As the undisputed elite ninja in the ninja world, the power of ninjutsu they unleashed is naturally extraordinary. Wow. Boom. See fire style successfully hitting the giants, scorching their bodies to pitch black as char. Ninjutsu successfully slicing through the giant's skin, and wind style ninjutsu blocking their movements slightly. 10. Advertisement. All the ninjas saw, the giants didn't even move, the terrifying wounds on their bodies had already healed. Especially the first ancestor Ymir, who came along with the giants and whose body was so huge that it almost covered the sky, smashed the fist wrapped in strange white cartilage with a punch. Ninja. And in the face of Ymir's giant fist that seemed to come crashing down, the 5 shadows also shot without hesitation. 4 Scarlet Sun Formation, 4 Flames Prison Array. 5 shadows, Tsunade, Jiraiya, Killer Bee 118 cage level ninjas go straight to the angler without hesitation. They were already prepared, and they used the 2 formations that were legendary in the ninja world. The 4 Red Sun formations, the formation of defense and the pharyngeal beam, require the enchantment that 4 cage level powerhouses can continue to cast. The 4 Flame Prison Arrays, the Scorching and Deflagrating Arrays, also require the enchantment that 4 cage level powerhouses can continue to cast. So the next moment, the 2 formations were formed impressively. This is also the reason why the ninjas cheered. The achievements of the 2 great formations have undoubtedly greatly stimulated their morale. Because then, the fist of the ancestor Ymir 470 smashed directly on the 4 Red Sun formation. The unique crimson brilliance of the 4 Scarlet Sun formation envelops all the ninjas, while the 4 Flame Prison formation transforms into a giant fire dragon, wrapping the army of the giant ghost below and the ancestor Ymir. On the other side, the fist of the ancestor Ymir was also directly stopped by the 4 Red Sun formation. At this time, the fire dragon swept the bodies of countless giants, turning them into fly ash and powder in an instant. Success. 33 The next moment, the crimson formation was smashed by the fist of the ancestor Ymir. But just the next moment, their morale, which had just been boosted, suffered an unprecedented blow once again. And the fire dragon transformed by the 4 Flames Prison Array is the giant that swept away all the ghosts. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Stop it. Countless powders and coke like dust regrouped their bodies, and the expressions of the giants were still like ghosts. On the other side, while resisting the fist of the ancestor Ymir, the 4 Red Sun formations made bursts of shattering sounds like whining. Just a moment later, under the unbelievable gazes of all the ninjas, the giants of ghosts who were devoured by the fire dragon and turned into ashes, began to recover slowly. At the same time, there were different cheers from the ninja camp. Chapter 243 Heichang, Helpless Choice. Along with the shattering of the 4 Scarlet Sun formation, the huge tide wrapped in Ymir's fist also swept everyone away. Although it will not cause too many casualties, the shock to the ninjas' hearts is undoubtedly greater than the physical injuries. You must know that the 2 cage-level formations of the 4 Red Yang formation and the 4 Flame Prison formation are one of the trump cards they expected. Even if you don't say defeating the opponent, it should be a successor who is going to cause trouble to the enemy. But now, so strong, she was stronger than before. Namikaze Minato, one of the 4 Red Sun formation formers, sighed softly. Although in the past in Hueco Mundo, I have witnessed Ymir's power. One blow is enough to instantly kill 3 tails, and Yagura's terror power is undoubtedly far beyond cage level. But now, she seems to be even more prosperous in her heyday. On the other hand, Onogi's focus is on those ghost giants. Sure enough, they've evolved to be more terrifying. 97. Even if it is burned into coke and powder, it can be reborn, and this terrifying immortality is undoubtedly beyond the comprehension of Onogi. At the same time, it also made him realize, can't fight. A head-on battle is undoubtedly something that cannot be done. Although the people here are the elites of the ninja world, the elites are only the elites, not the army. If it is an army of the entire ninja world, then it can also rely on human sea tactics and ninjutsu tactics to attack. Even if the opponent can be resurrected, but it is meaningless under the continuous and long-term firepower network. But the current elite troops, their chara volume cannot achieve such a large firepower coverage. So, separate, retreat to the Mountain of Ghosts. Onogi instantly made the most rational judgment. On the battlefield, it is taboo to divide troops into battle. But now, this is the most reasonable choice. In the face of such a huge enemy such as the almost undead giant of ghosts and Ymir, running away on the flat ground is obviously courting death. Relatively speaking, escaping towards the Mountain of Ghosts can use the mountain as a bunker. Advertisement also. Roar. Looking at the ninjas fleeing towards the mountain, Ymir let out an angry roar. Really? After seeing this scene, Oyemu also secretly said as expected. The giant army of ghosts is the creation of ghosts and emptiness, and the first ancestor Ymir also lives in Hueco Mundo, 93. And the island of Oni is Kaido's territory, so Ymir's actions here are bound to be restricted. After confirming this, the other four shadows also made the same judgment as Onogi. All the ninjas have chakras attached to their feet, while avoiding the boulders thrown by the giants, they are moving towards the mountain. Even if you think with your toes, you know that there must be more enemies on the Mountain of Ghosts. But now that they have been discovered, they can't control that much. Roar. Eat them. Fresh flesh, 99. And sure enough, as the ninjas moved towards the heights of the Mountain of Ghosts, one by one the ghost family also appeared from the mountains and trees. Their sharp fangs and ferocious faces set off the mountain like a Senluo hell. Don't fall in love, and seeing such a huge number of ghosts for the first time also made the ninjas almost instinctively want to do it. But the five shadows immediately issued an order. Continuing to stalemate with each other in such a place will only die faster. So the ninjas also obeyed the order, just drop the detonating charm kunai from a distance or use ninjutsu to block these ghosts, while they themselves continued to go towards the top of the mountain. While running with all their strength, the elite ninjas are naturally extremely fast. So soon, they arrived near the top of the mountain. Then, they saw a beam of light. It was a black light emitting an ominous aura. It shot down from the infinite castle, above the sky, and shone down on the top of the Mountain of Ghosts below. This seems to be the black voice that His Excellency Shiro said the other day. Advertisement. Namikaze Minato, who had exchanged information with Jingling before departure, quickly recognized this thing. Black cavity. However, Terumi Mei was a little puzzled at this time. Although she also went to the Chunin exam, she did not participate in the follow-up information exchange due to the information of Onishima Island, but chose to return to the Mist Nin village to host Big Picture. Is said to be a special ability of Hueco Mundo, similar to the space-time ninjutsu. This light is the light of negation, in a black cavity, and when you enter it, you will be teleported to an unknown area. Namikaze Minato explained that, but his brows were also tight in love. Needless to say, all fools know that there must be a conspiracy in the middle. In the enemy's lair, the enemy puts down a black cavity, and after entering, it will be teleported to an unknown area. Even if this is not a trap, it is estimated that no one will believe it. The Ghost Clan. They are really bad guys. 93. But at this moment, Terumi Mei glanced behind him. The attacking ghost giant, the exaggerated Ymir and countless evil ghosts are coming towards them. No doubt they had no choice. The original plan was declared to have fallen through when it was discovered. Even if they knew it was a trap, they could only jump. At least it was better than dying here without meaningless hands. Hokage, send the information back to the association. At this time, Reikage also sighed softly. Well, 99. Namikaze Minato nodded calmly. Before coming here, he was already well prepared and set up several flying thunder god techniques. In addition, each filmmaker has also determined the candidates for the next generation film in advance, and is fully prepared to sacrifice. And now, Namikaze Minato is sending the information back in order to make the final deployment. And after Namikaze Minato successfully used the technique of Flying Thunder God to teleport away his kunai, who was carrying information, they just took a deep look at the black voice not far away. Let's go. Luo Sha spoke slowly. Look at what they set up to welcome us, guests. Chapter 244. Opening of the show. The mouse came out of the hole. When Luo Sha's words fell, the ninjas naturally moved together. Without hesitation, they lifted their feet and stepped into the black cavity. Then, the next moment, they found that their bodies were rising towards the sky along with the black cavity. And at the end of the sky, it is the capital of ghosts, the Infinite City. Buzz. The grotesque gate of Infinite City burst open, as if to welcome them. At this time, the ninjas were finally able to glimpse the true form of this legendary ghost capital. Unexpectedly, the interior of the city itself is not as terrifying as most ninjas imagine. There is no trace of blood, death, or terror here. The space presents a strange twist. Spreading brilliance, folded covered bridges, domes with screens, windows on the ground. Weird, twisted, but full of a weird beauty, and soon, the ninjas found that they all landed together. At this time, they even discovered that their overall team seemed to be divided into 3 different areas. Each area is cut off by a strange light curtain, allowing them to see each other but unable to interrogate each other. Wu Jiying's brows rose in love, and he also didn't understand what the situation was. But it was also at this time. Intruders of the Ninja World, 470. The clear voice that suddenly sounded was calm and thorough, as if there was no malicious intent. But just this voice sounded, and the ninjas who had participated in the Konoha Nine Tails battle before had their hair stand on end. Without him, because everyone knows who the owner of this voice is. It's that guy. Especially Jiraiya, who had a glimpse of each other at the ramen shop, was even more certain at this time. This voice belongs to the King of Demons. I am amazed that you are here. The voice of the King of Ghosts continued to sound at this time, and it seemed that there was no malicious intent. But by the way, I also have several important guests here. Advertisement. So for the sake of my guests, I hope you all put on some fun shows. Between the words, the ninjas also saw that the detonating talisman bomb scroll they had worked so hard to prepare actually floated directly in the next moment, and then turned into powder. So the expressions of the ninjas became more and more ugly. The scroll was destroyed, which undoubtedly shows that the enemy has completely seen through their plans. In other words, their situation is now, a GCG, even more unfavorable. But on the other hand, what the King of Ghosts said made them extremely angry. Obviously, just as they had guessed before. The other party made a black speech and forced them to enter the Infinite City. From the very beginning, they had a cat and mouse mentality. Even more so, judging from the other party's words, he even regarded the ninjas as actors in a stage play. This is undoubtedly a huge insult to ninjas, but the Demon King's words continued at this time. This is the City of Infinity, the City of Infinite Permanence. As you can see, I will divide this place into 5 floors. The performers will be divided into 3 teams to explore higher levels. On each floor, you will encounter different enemies and dangers. As long as any team reaches the 5th floor, I can abandon this plan with Lord Kaido, 22. I hope you guys can do a good enough show to make me laugh. At this point, the expressions of the 5 shadows also changed from the original anger to more intense anger and solemnity. There is no doubt that their minds were well grasped. From the first moment they set foot on the road to Oni Island, they had put their life and death aside. They are not afraid of death, so if the King of Ghosts uses any means to persecute and humiliate them, they will definitely not compromise. If it doesn't work, it's just death at most. But now, the King of Ghosts has undoubtedly caught their sore feet. Not to mention the fairness of the tower-style upward expedition itself, but at least the final prize is what the ninjas hoped for. And the ninjas have already analyzed it before. The King of Ghosts, the King of Voids, the King of Spirits, and even Kaido and the 5 elders are all extremely arrogant. Just like Otsutsugi, one of the 5 elders before, he can destroy Konoha with ease, but in the end he only does what is necessary for his own purposes. Their antiquity and strength make them see the ninja world as bugs, and their arrogance comes from the heart. Even the ghost killing team, which is apparently friendly to the ninja world, occasionally shows a little arrogance. Therefore, the promise of the King of Ghosts will not be false. His arrogance prevented him from thinking that the ninjas could successfully reach the 5th floor. Advertisement. But if the ninjas do it, his arrogance will also keep him on his promises. It's like the person who lured the little mice up the roulette wheel with cheese never cared about the cheese itself. This is the arrogance that belongs only to the ancients and to the strong. Therefore, even if you know that the enemy you are facing will definitely be very difficult, even if you know that this is just a sideshow in the other party's heart, the strong men in the ninja world who are present will also choose to agree. Compared with meaningless death, dying in pursuit of their goals is undoubtedly more acceptable to them. You will regret this. So in the end, Jiraiya spoke in a deep voice to the existence above, looking down at them. Facing his words, the King of Evil Spirits just smiled happily and gracefully. Nice lines, 99. Your performance will be very interesting. Such a smile, but Yi Lin's eyes are sharp. The so-called performance is also good, and the game that is designed to clear customs is also good. At the end of the day, it's just for procrastination. And his purpose of delaying time is, in this case, that mouse must have a hole? Whispering in his heart, Yi Lin slowly got up. Tensison opened, and Chara spread swept over. One step across, his figure has disappeared from the Infinite City. At the same time, the temporary command post of the Ninja World Association of Mist Ninja Village. Lord Hokage has sent back news that they are about to enter the Infinity City and start a war with each other. Not long ago, the news that Namikaze Minato sent back through the mark of the Flying Thunder God has already reached the ears of the ninjas in the major ninja villages. And for this fact, their thoughts are without exception worrying. Naturally, everyone knows that entering the other's lair in this way must be extremely dangerous. But among all of them, there are exceptions. For example, in the crowd at this time, a ninja from Tangnin village. And in his eyes with low eyebrows at this time, the brilliance that belongs to Samsara's eyes is shining. Have you finally started a head-to-head battle? Now, it's time to act. Chapter 245 The Depths of the Seal, The Abnormality of Otsutsugi Buddha. It's time to act. In Unochi, Otsutsugi Wangchen, who had been lurking for a long time, shone in the dark red Samsara eyes at this time. The leader of Tang Zhiguo has long been controlled by him, and Tang Zhiguo itself has undoubtedly become his eyes and ears in the ninja association. So he also knows that now is the best time for him to act. With his strength, even now it still hasn't recovered to its full glory. But in the entire ninja world, there are not many enemies he fears. The King of Demons, Otsutsugi Knight, Kaido, Sage of Six Paths, Otsutsugi Naruto barely counted among them. And now that it has been determined that there will be a war in Infinite City, most of the people he is afraid of will focus their attention there. So, this is naturally the best time for him to act. After thinking about it clearly, Otsutsugi's figure also slowly emptied. Wangshen Hirazaka activated, and his figure came to the depths of the soup seam in a moment. Then, he sank into the ground. He could feel that the Otsutsugi Buddha was sealed here. And in fact, it is. The first time he entered the sacrificial seam, Otsutsugi Wangshen sensed a familiar force. It was an extremely dark negative emotion, as if there was a madman whispering crazy questions in his ears. That is the power of Otsutsugi Buddha, but, this guy, what's the matter? Otsutsugi Huang Quan was a little puzzled at this time, because although he sensed the power that clearly belonged to Otsutsugi Buddha, this power was actually trying to erode him. You must know that the abilities between the eyes of reincarnation are not harmless to each other. Especially Otsutsugi Buddha is such a strange power that even Yi Lin and Kagaya will be attacked, and Otsutsugi Wangshen will naturally not be easy. But here's where it's not normal, since Otsutsugi Wangshen can feel the existence of his partner. Correspondingly, Otsutsugi Buddha should also feel his presence. But Otsutsugi Buddha did not restrain the power of his reincarnation eye. And even more exaggerated, how come this guy's power has become stronger? Otsutsugi Wangshen could clearly feel that the pupil power that belonged to Otsutsugi Buddha continued to affect him, and even completely suppressed his power. Advertisement. This naturally surprised Otsutsugi Wangshen. You must know that when they were sealed back then, the strength of the two was actually almost the same. To put it bluntly, the power of Otsutsugi Buddha is more dangerous, while Otsutsugi Wangshen is more capable of self-preservation and escape. And after so many years of seals, logically speaking, even if the two of them are six paths level existences, their strength should have fallen to the low kill. Otsutsugi Wangshen escaped from the seal earlier than Otsutsugi Buddha, and has regained most of his power after so long. So no matter how you think about it, the power of Otsutsugi Buddha who is still in a sealed state cannot be stronger than his successor. But now, this bizarre situation has happened. What has this guy done all these years? Naturally, Otsutsugi Huang Quan's heart was even more puzzled. But he still strongly supported his pupil strength, dispelling the negative emotional guidance of Otsutsugi Buddha, and headed towards the core of the seal. Buddha, stop your abilities. It's me. After reaching the core of the seal, Otsutsugi Huang Quan also used his pupil power to communicate with the Otsutsugi Buddha in the seal. 10. In the core of the seal, there was no response. Within the silent seal, only negative emotions continued to extend, conveying the terrifying Shirela. This is Six Paths, the art of psychic telepathy. At this time, Otsutsugi Huang Quan, who was also faintly aware that something was wrong, also decisively used the pupil technique that he was good at. This is unique to his reincarnation eye, soul detection pupil technique. With this pupil technique, he can detect the strength and condition of the enemy's soul. Even a seal can't stop his exploration. So I saw that the red light in his samsara eyes was even brighter, as if he could see the figure in the depths of the seal. But when he saw it, he was stunned, because in the spiritual vision he obtained through the spiritual telepathy, the soul of the Otsutsugi Buddha that he was familiar with existed in the depths of the seal. Rather, a monster soul, garden, countless low and sad voices came, and that soul was bloated and huge, redundant and full of despair. Advertisement 0. Ask for flowers. That soul seems to be a terrifying monster composed of countless sad and fearful souls. In Otsutsugi Huang Quan's induction, this terrifying soul has at least 3 or more soul breaths. And the breath of Otsutsugi Buddha was indeed in it. Buddha. UB****************. D. After sensing this, Otsutsugi Huang Quan also vaguely guessed what happened. So his expression immediately became ugly, because if his guess is true, then the seal rescue plan he has prepared for so long this time is likely to turn into nothing. In other words, the time and danger that he has to hide will be greatly intensified. How so? Otsutsugi Huang Quan gritted his teeth and then decided to leave here. It's you who lingers on you. He was also quite puzzled at this time. He originally thought that Otsutsugi Wangshen might rescue Otsutsugi Buddha, and then he happened to have a gap. Otsutsugi Knight, and judging from this situation, it is clear that ambush and plans for him have been prepared for a long time. He said the other party's name in a low voice, and his words were full of anger and murderous intent. UB**************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** situation is not clear, the killing intent in Yi Lin's heart is unabated. According to his idea, the king of Oni, Kaido, Nagato, sage of six paths and Naruto Otsutsugi, the six paths level powerhouses that he had seen in Konoha before, would all be attracted by the battles in Onishima Infinite Castle. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. But he never thought that the other party actually came. This time, I want to see how you escape. Lose. At this time, Yi Lin, who incarnated as Otsutsugi Yi, also smiled. That figure had azure blue tensai eyes, and was enveloped in chara and a powerful aura. The only exception is Otsutsugi Knight, because at this time, a figure was already standing in the sky above the sacrificial tent. But it was at the moment of returning to the surface that Otsutsuki Huangquan's expression changed. And that figure, Otsutsuki Wangchen, is naturally unforgettable in his life. His figure moved towards the top of the sacrificial seam, and then crossed the surface. But unexpectedly, only Otsutsuki Wangchen appeared here. Chapter 246. A desperate battle motivating the huge amount of chara in his body. Yi Lin didn't hesitate too much. The moment he saw Otsutsuki Wangchen, he immediately released the real power of Tensigen to see everything in the world. Although this is a trick that is not worth mentioning to Otsutsuki Huangquan, who is also a Otsutsuki clan, he himself has Tensigen, and he has it since he was a child, and his proficiency in using it is by no means inferior to Yi Lin. So, at this moment, he felt very amused, and he couldn't help laughing at Yi Lin's behavior, such childish stupidity. The ability of Tenseiken will also be infused with Tensisen. Otsutsuki Yi, you who have lived on Earth for so long, won't you even forget about this? He laughed. This truth has been known since he was 13 years old. At that time, he used the ability to see through the 470s in the clan, and wanted to see through their strength, but he did not expect to be rejected by a strong force. That power is the repulsion of Tensigen, a power it is born with, and it is immune to the exploration of the same kind. Moreover, when the caster releases Tensai Eyes to explore, how much pupil power is injected, and how much will be backlashed in the end. He originally thought that Otsutsuki, as a senior who came to Earth a long time ago, was at least somewhat more powerful than him, but he didn't expect that he didn't even know this kind of common sense. In this way, it can be said that it is easy to deal with him, at least for the next period of time. He will not be defeated soon. The last time I fought with him was completely diligent and negligent, and now he has fully known the whole details of the opponent, and will never lose to him easily again. Get ready to die. Otsutsuki Huangquan sneered and rushed up suddenly. The aura on his body became fiercer. 80 sky strikes. He immediately resorted to this one, the profound meaning of physique that held a pivotal position among the Otsutsuki clan. Although Yi Lin doesn't know the profound meaning of physique, he doesn't intend to lose to Otsutsuki Wangchen so easily. Reaching out his hand, Yi Lin's fist clenched tightly and slowly opened forward. As a result, the chara on his body had already condensed into his palm, and gathered towards the front. With a burst shot, a super powerful cannonballs pierce your hands. It's repulsion. Using the interaction of gravity and repulsion, a powerful cannonball is finally released. When this kind of projectile acts on the human body, it will completely tear it apart, and even the human body or some stones, mountains, and vegetation will be completely destroyed by the projectile. Otsutsuki Huangquan did not expect the opponent to be able to use such a powerful move. He was a little different at first, but he quickly reacted and dodged at a very fast speed. Advertisement. The cannonball passed by, and finally landed behind Otsutsuki Huangquan, and a deep pit was indeed created, which made him tremble with fear. What a terrible power this is. Why are the powers of the two Otsutsuki clans so far apart? What is the reason? Is this guy's power really far beyond mine? What a joke. Otsutsuki Huangquan was in disbelief, and he didn't want to admit that it had become a given. Although it is said that masters can make a difference in a split second, Otsutsuki Huangquan understands that the battle of the Otsutsuki clan will not be so simple, but it will not be too complicated. He remembered that a long time ago, when he and Otsutsuki competed with Otsutsuki in the peach style, gold style, and bush style, even though the strength of the other party and him was indeed the same, he couldn't even take down 1.5 of their moves, but also because he is a Otsutsuki clan, he has excellent physical fitness, which will not cause him to lose after just a few laps. The Otsutsuki clan's grasp of talent is very simple, and there is no talent difference between them at all. Also as Otsutsuki, their physiques are all immortal bodies that can quickly heal their bodies, and can store a large amount of chakra in them. When they fight, they will be troubled that the other party is almost the same as themselves in extraordinary recovery ability, so a battle can last a long time. Even if the strength is extremely disparate, it will not be defeated for a moment. But it's far from that now. Although Otsutsuki Wangchen did not clearly perceive it, he had already sensed that the opponent's strength was more than several times his own at the moment when Otsutsuki attacked him. Not only that, but he's even more unfathomable and terrifying. I don't know what this guy did with Teruyu Oriichi after he came to Earth, and now he's actually amplifying himself to the point where people can't stand against him at all. At this moment, on Otsutsuki Huangquan's forehead, pea-sized sweat drops slowly dripped down. He knew that this battle did not seem to be as simple as he imagined. Taking advantage of the moment when there was no fighting, he looked at the Otsutsuki Buddha in the distance, which was still sealed. Advertisement. As long as this guy is released to form a 2-on-1 situation, the opponent will definitely lose. But now he knew that Otsutsuki Yi would never give him this chance, and he would not even be allowed to touch Otsutsuki Buddha. How to do this? I'm afraid there is only a fight to the death. Otsutsuki Huangquan thought in his heart, and with a void in his hand, he held a pitch black stick. Begging. He is determined to fight the opponent, and he will definitely spare no effort to fight it. The Yellow Spring Hiizaki. With a loud shout, Otsutsugi Huang Quan finally used the space he was most proud of when ninjutsu, the whole person fell backwards. And at the moment when he fell, the space behind him twisted, and finally tore apart a strange space, completely swallowing 2.6 his body. To be precise, he was included in his own space field. In this way, he can further use the power of the time-space ninjutsu to teleport himself wherever he wants to go. When Yi Lin saw this, his mind moved. He knew that if a person fought against Otsutsugi Wangshen's time-space ninjutsu in immortal body, then the end would be nothing more than a bad situation for him. The police said that the fight was over, and it was estimated that he would give him a complete play to death in the end. So what to do with such a ninjutsu? Quite simply, use magic to defeat magic. Yi Lin doesn't know magic, but he already has a puppet that can fight Otsutsugi ninjutsu. Come on, Palutzia! Yi Lin shouted and summoned Palutzia, who could use the power of space on the battlefield. Chapter 247. The defeated Yellow Springs Palutzia is a legendary Pokemon with a combination of water and dragon attributes. Every time its heart pumps, it will bring a lot of pressure to the space. After Otsutsugi Huang Quan dragged his figure into the time and space, he immediately launched a surprise attack on Yi Lin and teleported himself behind Yi Lin for a surprise attack. Although Tensigen can see the full perspective, whether it is in the sky or the ground, even if you are behind him, you can still be detected. This is different from the white eye that was multiplied and fished by Tensai. As the ancestor of all pupil techniques, it is almost perfect, there is no blind spot for observation, and even the things hidden in all objects can be thoroughly penetrated by it. The effect of such an eye in combat is very terrifying, because it can see everything, so it also represents omniscience and omnipotence. Therefore, even if Otsutsugi Huang Quan tried his best to move himself from the space many times, it would still be of no avail, and had no effect at all. As long as it appears again, then Yi Lin is sure to let Palutzia kill him. Moreover, even if he does not appear, Palutzia can completely cut through time and space so that he has nowhere to hide. In this case, Otsutsugi Wangshen would lose his support when he lost space and had to fight him head-on. But he is definitely not his opponent in a head-on battle. Go ahead, Otsutsugi Wangshen, Yi Lin said. The expression on his face is indescribable ease and freehand, as if he doesn't care if Otsutsugi Wangshen has any other killer steel now. Although he can't see him now, he seems to be able to imagine how he will die in front of him. Otsutsugi Huang Quan just sneered in his heart. He has fought against this monster-like guy. Indeed, it has decent power, but now he is not what he used to be, and he is no longer able to deal with such a mere wild dog-like monster. Suffer to death. Suddenly dragging himself out of time and space, Otsutsugi Huang Quan used his truth-seeking ball staff to deliver a ferocious blow to Yi Lin. Although this blow is just an ordinary physical attack, the truth-seeking ball itself is a good thing. He can completely eliminate that piece of flesh the moment he touches the human body. Advertisement, yes, not to hurt, but to eliminate. Total destruction. Even if they belong to the Otsutsugi clan, Otsutsugi Wangshen can still use the truth-seeking ball to eliminate him little by little. That's the power of truth-seeking ball. Moreover, the speed at which he came out was extremely fast. Even if he had Tensisen, he could react in an instant, but there was still no way to completely move his body away, because his eyes could not keep up with his body. Just like the first Chunin exam, when Xiao Li was fighting with Uchiha Sasuke, although Xiao Li's every move was seen by Uchiha Sasuke's Sharingan, his body still couldn't keep up, and there was no way for him to attack him. Completely resolved, can only watch the other side hit him. It seems that love is a more desperate thing than not responding. However, Yi Lin smiled lightly, and immediately ordered Palutzia to return to the defense, and rhyme with incomparable precision to the position of Otsutsugi Huang Quan's rhyme. What? Otsutsugi Huang Quan was taken aback. He didn't expect that his whereabouts would be predicted in advance, so he hurriedly withdrew, trying to slow down the attack speed, but what he never expected was that he couldn't escape. Asian slash. After making rhyme, Palutzia's hand swiped in the air and the time and space twisted, and a swift and violent slash wave flew over, and it was about to blow Otsutsugi Wangshen completely from the time and space. But at this time, Otsutsugi Huang Quan's figure was slightly illusory, and the whole person was actually integrated with time and space. As if it didn't exist, it suddenly disappeared and turned into a twisted substance in space. In this way, no matter how Yi Lin made Palutzia attack the space and time, it wouldn't help, because he himself had no way to control matter other than space. Now Otsutsugi's yellow spring is integrated with the space, and his body is completely hidden, as if he is invisible. He can't find any angle, and there is no way to interfere with his actions. The illusory twisted cat space floated in front of Yi Lin. Yi Lin understood where Otsutsugi Wangshen was hiding, but he really had no way to bring him back. Saying that, he ordered Palutzia to attack those time and space. Advertisement. Although there is no basis for this, Yi Lin thought that there was no other way, so he could only try this method first. Palutzia's breath from his mouth can tear apart the breath of Dimension 470. The strange space vortex is circulating inside. Yi Lin knows that there is a part of Otsutsugi Wangshen, but if he has become the current form, how should the district police be carried out, and how should the precise strike be carried out? Otsutsugi Huang Quan was very shocked, but now, all ninjutsu in the world now know that basically no magic can hurt him. In that case, will Otsutsugi Huangquan be easily released by him? In this case, Otsutsugi Huangquan finally had no way to launch any effective attack on him. But the solution is always to try the rhyme. Otsutsugi Huangquan knew that this kind of attack would have no effect on him at all. The so-called breath would also pass through him and would not cause any harm to him, because he was now integrated with time and space. If you want to destroy him, then you will have to hit yourself with more precision, or make the rhythm more strange ninjutsu stitches. So he began to think about how to launch a more effective attack on Yi Lin in front of him. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Yi Lin didn't want to sit still. He looked carefully at the time and space Uzumaki created by Otsutsuki Wangchen in front of him. How is that possible? Can someone really have the power to tear apart time and space? This kind of power is said to be on the Earth, and even on his original planet. There is not necessarily someone who can make a rhyme. Although his blurring can't cause any substantial damage to the enemy, it can avoid most of the damage. One of the most important means of standing among the clans. Thinking of this, he began to feel a little irritable. What if he could completely destroy all the time and space? It's just that he never thought that his body, although it was said that it was very easy to pass Palkia's breath through, was torn apart by Palkia's rhythmic breath in the next moment. If it is the best to be able to force him to work, even if it is not possible, this space can be completely destroyed. Chapter 248 Peach Style Gold Style Bush Style. But he never thought today that his move would be broken so easily. Seeing that his time and space were about to be torn apart by the mysterious breath that the strange creature spit out, Otsutsuki Huangquan was so frightened that he had to rematerialize his body, appear on the earth, and close the time-space. He knows that if this strange creature destroys his time and space this time, then he will lose his trust in the clan, and even if he can go back alive, he will only be treated as a pig and a dog, regarded as a creature of no value. What awaits him in the end will be ruthless abandonment. Yi Lin saw that Otsutsuki Wangchen finally materialized. Without any hesitation, he rushed up directly, bent Otsutsuki Wangchen and launched an attack. Reaching out his hand and grasping it in the void, Yi Lin used the gravitational force of Tensigen to attract the opponent to his side. Almost subconsciously, Otsutsuki Huangquan immediately used repulsion to bounce himself off the opponent's palm. But he never imagined that his repulsion was far less than the opponent's gravitational force. It can be said that his strength is already far below the opponent's and he will lose this battle. But how could he give up his life? So at this moment, he is determined to use his last trump card. Between his hands, a faint rhythm occurred in the space around him. It was as if he was obeying his call, and after he closed his eyes to guide him, the space was finally as he wished, persuading Palkia in front of him to press down, trying to compress it to a minimum state. Seeing this, Yi Lin immediately ordered Pelucha to retreat, surround himself, and use his master's power to fight against it. This move by Otsutsuki Huangquan is the most common space power without any special effects, so even if Yi Lin uses Tensigen easily, he can control it. After this battle, Otsutsuki Huangquan had already fully sensed the strength gap between him and Yi Lin, so he didn't want to continue fighting any longer. Looking at the Otsutsuki Buddha in the distance, he was extremely disappointed. Originally, he thought that he would use his own power to resurrect Otsutsuki Buddha. If he could be resurrected, then even 100 Yi Lin would definitely not be his opponent. Because they can use the fusion skills between them to fuse the bodies of the two people into one, and finally burst out with extremely powerful power, and can even completely destroy the world. In the end, even the entire universe is definitely not a problem. Advertisement. But now, he has no way to approach Otsutsuki Buddha at all. Come and wake up, Otsutsuki Buddha. Asterisk. Otsutsuki Huangquan thought in his heart, but just based on his thoughts, there is no way to wake up his partner, unless the other party is slack. He can take the opportunity to come to Otsutsuki Buddha and personally untie it for him. Seal. It's just that this opportunity will never come again. Yi Lin quickly saw through Otsutsuki Huangquan's attack. He found that there was nothing special about it, and he also understood that he could no longer make waves, so he wanted to take this opportunity to kill him completely. Stretch and scissors lifted up with force, the bricks and rubble on the ground were condensed by him, and he moved towards the Otsutsuki Wangchen bag in front of him until he was completely enclosed in it. Planetary devastation. Immediately afterwards, Yi Lin did not hesitate. His hands were bent in front of him. Otsutsuki Wangchen, who had been pinched to the ground, launched the final blow, and the golden wheel exploded. Hearing a loud bang, the sky and the earth seemed to be shaken violently, and everything collapsed for a moment with this explosion. Otsutsuki Huangquan was seriously injured. He slowly fell from the sky, and took this opportunity to drag himself into the space. Yi Lin definitely wouldn't give him this chance, so he flew over and ordered Pelucha to completely destroy his time and space. Otsutsuki Huangquan also saw that he was about to fall into a place of doom, and felt extremely desperate in his heart. But at this time, suddenly, the world changed color, and some people seemed to be attracted by the explosion. Invariably, almost in an instant, at the side of Otsutsuki Huangquan, 3 space-time rifts suddenly appeared, and 3 people with different shapes walked out of them. Through the white clothes they wear, Otsutsuki Wangchen can easily recognize the Hook, and they are also members of the Otsutsuki family. But why Hook this place at this time? After a closer look, I realized that they were sent by the clan. It is divided into peach style, gold style and bush style. They are all experts in the clan. If they can help, then Yi Lin is not his opponent at all. Advertisement. Dao Shi looked at the chaos around him and thought about something in his heart until he suddenly saw Otsutsugi Wangchen. What's going on? Otsutsugi Huang Quan, why are you looking like this? He asked, feeling extremely surprised. As far as he knew, no one in this world could pose a substantial threat to their Otsutsugi clan. Could it be that there are other forces involved? Thinking of this, he walked over. Jin Shi and Pu Shi also followed. Otsutsugi Huang Quan was seriously injured. If it weren't for the arrival of Dao Shi and Jin Shi, he would have died, but now he has hope of living again. It's that guy. He defected with Otsutsugi Kagaya. They were originally sent by the organization to plant the sacred tree, and now, for some reason, they have been changed by the people here. 93. Mutiny? Zhao, S. Dao Shi did not expect that the people of the Otsutsugi clan would be so afraid of an earthling, and felt extremely puzzled and amused at the same time. These ant-like races, what is there to be nostalgic for? Since he stepped into this world for the first time, he felt that the air in this world was very dirty, and there was nothing to love. The creatures on this planet should be completely destroyed, not a single one. However, even he had never seen the person in front of him at all. In other words, he didn't know the guy in front of him at all. Is he the one you're talking about? The peach style refers to the curved leaves, and asks about Otsutsugi Wangchen. Yi Lin took a look at the peach style. He does know this guy. Otsutsugi's classic role cannot be underestimated. But he doesn't know why. He's in this place now. Chapter 249. Could it be that it was because of his battle with Otsutsugi Wangchen that he attracted him? Or, what interest did the Otsutsugi clan have in him? Otsutsugi Huang Quan nodded. Yes, it is him. His name is Otsutsugi Yi. I have never seen him before. He does have the same physique and ability as us, and his eyes are the same as ours. Both it's the Tenma. If you have Tensai, then it must belong to the Otsutsugi clan. However, I have never seen this guy before. What? Haven't you even seen it? Otsutsugi Huang Quan was very surprised. So who is this mysterious person? Why is there such a powerful force? If not diligently expected, he should be a very high-ranking member of the Otsutsugi clan, but why would he oppose him? Dao Shi was not arbitrary. He first asked Jin Shi and Pu Shi who were beside him, wondering if they knew this mysterious person from unknown origin. After seeing them shaking their heads, Dao Shi nodded lightly. Since this is the case, then it means that this person is from outside, and it is very likely that he has copied our form. In fact, it is basically another force. It's very possible. 470 Otsutsugi Wangchen nodded. After all, they were ordered by Otsutsugi's superiors, who came to the earth to plant the sacred tree, and it was impossible for them to be betrayed by their superiors. The only thing that can be explained is that this guy named Otsutsugi Yi is in disguise. He is not Otsutsugi family at all. As for why she has the ability, it is very likely that she has stolen Kaguya's ability. After all, she has not seen Kagaya again until so long. Kagaya may have been killed by this guy. Otsutsugi Huang Quan analyzed that, as expected, he should have deceived her, which caused her to betray her own clan. Otherwise, there is really no way to explain why she would do something like cutting, which is harmful to herself but not beneficial. This is the only reason, but no matter what, we must kill this person first. If we don't kill him, then he will inevitably become the biggest enemy of the clan. Dao Shi said, the explosion just now made him feel the strength of this person, so he heard the sound and came here, in order to prevent the earth from being hooked by extremely powerful people. Golden style. Dao Shi shouted. Jin Shi nodded immediately and melted into Dao Shi's body. Pu Shi also took out his weapon, bent Yi Lin and rushed over. Seeing this, Yi Lin immediately ordered Pelucha to return to the defense, but Pu Shi's skills have nothing to do with space, so Pelucha is not an opponent. And at this time, the peach style has evolved into a complete body, and the strength has grown by leaps and bounds. The two joined forces, plus Otsutsugi Wangchen, Yi Lin really had no way to parry them. Advertisement and all his puppets are on standby on the Island of Ghosts. The only thing he can do now is to go to the traditional points mall and exchange for an item that is beneficial to him. Fortunately, a puppet that made him overjoyed quickly appeared in the current mall. The puppet's ability cannot be said to be powerful, only invincible. Open black lens bracket props in this round of shopping malls. Close black lens bracket, Conan's glasses B-level props 1000 points. Kujo Jotaro's hat C-class item 500 points. Open black lens bracket temporary puppet One Punch Man Saitama. 1 use, SSS level props 10,000 points, tool, a total of 1. Open black lens bracket Shinigami's Apple A grade item 5,000 points, M Saitama. It was actually One Punch Man. Yi Lin almost died of laughter. Who is One Punch Man? An almost invincible presence in the setting. No matter what opponent in front of him is a punch. So basically drawing this puppet is equivalent to ending the battle. It's a pity, it's a temporary puppet, Yi Lin said regretfully. Although there are some shortcomings in beauty, AGCG, it is still very good. At least the current crisis can be lifted. If handled properly, he can even kill all these people. But even so, he didn't really want to use Saitama-sensei in this place. Because it is a temporary puppet after all, if there is any stronger opponent in the future, you can also use One Punch Man to completely eliminate what he does not explain. Use it now, it is indeed a bit overkill, and the few people in front of him didn't think it was necessary. But apart from these enemies, there is no one enemy worth mentioning at present. And the mall will be refreshed. Once it is refreshed, I don't know if Ma Uag will be able to draw One Punch Man Saitama again. Forget it, let's just relax, Yi Lin said. Advertisement. Although the price is a bit expensive, but after all, it is difficult to cross once. How can you do it if you don't have a good time? So he redeemed even 10,000 points. Summoned Saitama Sensei in front of him. In order to highlight his compulsiveness, he symbolically issued an order to teacher Saitama. Saitama, kill them. Yi Lin said, and looked at each other disdainfully. You guys are too weak, you can't even hit a single finger of my subordinates. Hearing this, the Otsutsugi trio were very angry. Huh? What, even if the three of us join forces? Now a mere earthling, dare to insult him like this. But at this moment, Otsutsugi Huang Quan shouted to stop. Otsutsugi said in peach style. What's wrong? He asked. He shouted and rushed Yi Lin. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Suffer to death. Otsutsugi's peach style almost killed him, but fortunately, he was very skilled in controlling his own attacks, and he stopped in time before he could touch Otsutsugi Wangchen. Wait a minute, he shouted suddenly, the hook now hanging in front of Otsutsugi peach style. Where have they been insulted like this? Pu Shi also circled behind Yi Lin at this moment. Even in their own clan, they are regarded as ants-like beings, but they have never been insulted like this. This guy named Otsutsugi Yi should be completely ground to powder. Otsutsugi peach style shouted angrily at that time. He felt that the other party was too arrogant one. Otsutsugi Huang Quan also nodded. It is indeed easy to kill him, but it is not necessary now. The earthlings who can make the three Otsutsugi clan be at a loss, can only say that there is no fisherman yet. Otsutsugi Huang Quan panted. This guy is definitely not as simple as you think. Even if I fight against him, there is no way to fight back. The explosion just now is the best proof of his strength. There is a very powerful force in the body, far beyond what you and I can resist. 11. Advertisement Chapter 250 Otsutsugi Buddha. What do you mean? Otsutsugi asked Peachly. Otsutsugi Wangchen pointed to the Otsutsugi Buddha temple not far away. At this time, the Otsutsugi Buddha was sealed in the magic circle, and there was no trace of vitality from the whole body, as if it was dead, but after Otsutsugi's Taoist look at the past, it is easy to find that the present Otsutsugi Buddha is not what it used to be. Then, far from what he wanted to be when he came to Earth. Although I don't want to admit it, he seems to be stronger than him. I don't know what kind of stimulation he got. What the hell happened to Otsutsugi Buddha? His power seems to be getting stronger? Hearing the question, Otsutsugi Huang Quan shook his head. I don't know what's going on, but he has indeed gained such a strong power, although he still can't break through the seal around him. But I think, if you let it out, then you can fuse it with me again. Now, it should be easy to kill this guy who pretended to be our Otsutsugi clan, and we should also try to see how powerful the Otsutsugi Buddha is now. Hearing this, Otsutsugi looked at the Otsutsugi Buddha who was sealed in the magic formation, then looked at the bald man and Yi Lin behind him. Thinking back to the explosion at the beginning, yes, it was more secure, and without taking more risks. If you go back and ask for credit, you can also say that you participated in the battle. Even if you were injured and die, it will only be Otsutsugi Yellow Springs or Otsutsugi Buddhas who will die. It has nothing to do with him, so why not do it? Then do as you said. Otsutsuki Taoshi said, looking at Pushi, let's go to unseal Otsutsuki Buddha and let him go. Hearing this, Otsutsuki Huang Quan became excited, and he knew that he had won. If it is said that the Otsutsuki Buddha, which is so terrifying now that even he is able to devour it, is released, then even this extremely powerful guy will definitely not be able to stand his punch. And if you kill this guy with your own hands, then not only will you take revenge, but you will be able to take all the credit for yourself when you go back. Otsutsuki Buddha was a mindless man, and he knew this very well. When taking credit, he would never have the intention to compete with himself for credit, so the ultimate credit must fall on his head. In that case, he would not be far from being promoted to obtain a better Senluo fruit. With such a bright future in mind, he and Otsutsuki Daoshi walked away from the sealed Otsutsuki Buddha. Advertisement, however, Yi Lin soon saw through their minds. Although he didn't think that freeing the guy who was sealed in the magic circle would pose any threat to him to his Saitama, but one more Otsutsuki is worse than one less Otsutsuki, so before they go Otsutsuki at the moment of the Buddha, Yi Lin immediately ordered the One Punch Man to rush over to interrupt them. At this time, the One Punch Man, although it looks ordinary and does not have any exaggeration, but he just squatted down and bowed slightly, with a starting position, and then suddenly rushed forward. It is a shocking momentum. Boom! Suddenly, everyone was shocked. Suddenly there was a loud noise, the ground cracked, he rushed up, and threw a powerful punch towards Otsutsuki Peach style. Although it is not the final kill, a serious punch, but this punch still contains the extremely strong skills of One Punch Man. Killing Otsutsuki Peach style is not a problem at all. Otsutsuki also felt this incomparably powerful and terrifying murderous aura, but he had already been locked by One Punch Man, and there was no way he could escape smoothly. If this is the case, then you must use Izanagi to sacrifice one of your own eyes. But he wasn't sure how powerful this punch was. What if it didn't kill him? Aren't you wasting your eyes? Only having played against Yi Lin, Otsutsugi Huangquanrao knew that the thing that summoned Yun was definitely not an ordinary person. That monster just now was like this. It didn't look so terrifying, but it was able to burst out with such a powerful force that even he couldn't resist it. So when Saitama rushed over, he didn't think much about it at all. He immediately expanded his time and space, and wanted to fully inhale Saitama to defuse his attack. But Saitama tensed up at that moment, stood straight in front of him, and stared at them with an extremely fierce face. There was a loud bang, and within the time-space where the fist was submerged, a huge sound came, and the time-space was shocked by a strong airflow. Otsutsugi Huangquan's face turned green, because he knew that his time and space had been smashed by Saitama's punch, and he could no longer function normally. 0. For flowers. It is precisely because of his sacrifice in space, Otsutsugi Taoshi understands how strong this guy is, and he will never take it lightly. Advertisement, quickly revive Otsutsugi Buddha. He said that he would no longer walk slowly towards the ceiling techniques style, but rushed over at his own speed. At this time, Otsutsuki Wangchen was about to be killed by the One Punch Man. He never imagined that one day he would be beaten like this by ordinary fists, which not only destroyed his time and space, but also almost beat him. Inquire about internal injuries. On the side, Yi Lin, who was watching the scene in front of him, was very excited. Is this a one-shot force? With such a powerful force, even a terrifying number of people will never be his opponent. Saitama-sensei is indeed a true god. 19. 0. But it was when he was thinking about these things that Otsutsuki's peach style had already formed the seal and began to break the seal gap of Otsutsuki Buddha. Otsutsuki Buddha had been thinking about how to free himself from this seal ever since he was sealed. So, he began to develop his own followers, using them to gather the energy of negative emotions to strengthen himself. But it is precisely because of these two large negative energies that his emotions have collapsed a long time ago, and his nerves have always been in ruthless torture, and he has already completely collapsed. Moreover, this emotion even affected their own believers, making them start to kill for a living, and they would scream deformed when they watched the policeman die. Otsutsuki Peach Style did not hesitate. He broke the seal of Otsutsuki Buddha with all his strength, and quickly unraveled it completely. The moment he untied it, a black-red yin evil light shot up into the sky, as if to shatter the whole world. A roar suddenly sounded, as if a beast that had been imprisoned underground for many years reappeared in the world. At this time, Otsutsuki Buddha stood in the sealing technique style that had been destroyed, and I really felt very comfortable. And when looking at the whole world, the eyes become extremely scarlet, and the body has long been corrupted by negative energy into a terrifying black poison color. No, he doesn't seem sensible. Otsutsuki Peach Style suddenly found out, but it was too late. Loss. Chapter 251 Kill the Quartet. At this time, Otsutsuki Buddha could not be said to have no memory, but rather to have no reason. Since he was released from the seal, he seemed to have changed into a different person. He took the lead in attacking the people around him indiscriminately, like a killing machine without any emotion, only knowing that he would kill the quartet non-stop. At first, Otsutsuki Peach Stance thought that the current Otsutsuki Buddha had such a powerful power because of his hard training. He even wanted to have a good relationship with him in the past, but now the police say that he has a good relationship. Before the two met the first sentence, Otsutsuki's Peach Style was tightly grabbed by the neck of Otsutsuki Buddha, without any chance to breathe, and smashed to the ground like this. A large pit was smashed into the ground, and inside the pit was solid granite, 470s. Even the most sturdy substance on this earth has not resisted the attack of this madman. If Otsutsuki Peach Pose is not because of his physical fitness, he will be killed by this attack sooner or later, and he will fall unconscious in these granites. Otsutsuki Buddha, you wake up, don't you know me? Otsutsuki Peach Pose asked Dao. He still had one last hope, hoping that Otsutsuki Buddha would wake up and stop being enemies with them. Their biggest opponent now should be the guy named Otsutsuki Yi. If they can't solve it now, then there will be endless troubles. But before he could attack him, this trump card released by himself had become a big trouble for him. Because of being strangled by the throat, Otsutsuki Peach Pagoda judged his own strength through his powerful hands, and was not the opponent of the Otsutsuki Buddha in front of him at all. If they fight now, the most likely outcome is that he is killed by Otsutsuki Buddha, with no chance of surviving. Looking at his appearance again, he found that his eyes could not be distinguished at this time. Where is the pupil and where is the white of the eye? All turned into a turbid scarlet. The muscles on the body burst out, and the fangs and ghost faces have long been gone. I remember the first time I came to the earth, and I was in high spirits. Otsutsuki Buddha changed completely. I don't know the reason, but the biggest reason is probably because it has been sealed for too long in this sealing technique style, and because of a mental breakdown, his Charlila ran wild. This is also something that can't be helped. After all, during this period of time, they didn't know that Otsutsuki Buddha was sealed in this technique. It's all because Huang Quan didn't tell him in advance. If he could tell him the news that Otsutsuki Buddha was also sealed, and told him from the letter, then he would be able to prepare in advance now, and he wouldn't be so embarrassed, at least not by Otsutsuki Buddha. Give a slap on the neck and struggle. Advertisement. When the two were fighting, Otsutsugi, who was on the side, couldn't stand it any longer. In order not to let his own people kill each other, he decided to kill the killer and rescued Otsutsugi Daoshi from the hands of Otsutsugi Buddha. So he attacked the Otsutsugi Buddha, but this attack doesn't matter, but it makes Pushi's body in flames. The moment Otsutsugi Buddha was attacked for the first time, the hatred value was instantly transferred to Otsutsugi's body, and it rushed towards him like a crazy tank. Otsutsugi Pushi had never seen such a scene, and was immediately scared to pee. What he originally thought was that he could release Otsutsugi's peach style through this attack, so that they could escape together without being hurt by their own people. If only Otsutsugi Buddha and Otsutsugi Yi were left on the battlefield, it would not matter if Otsutsugi Buddha was mad. But now he never imagined that the Otsutsugi Buddha would actually come towards him. For a while, he didn't know how to dodge, because his speed was too fast. At this moment, only Otsutsugi Huang Quan understood what to do. He had known for a long time that the Buddha had been captured. The negative energy he deliberately absorbed from all directions corrupted his mind, and he no longer had the sanity he used to think about. Therefore, although his strength has greatly increased, it has increased exponentially, but he has also lost the sense of companionship. It's possible to kill someone by yourself, but he did not expect that Otsutsugi Buddha did not even have a trace of reason, so mad and savage, and even the Otsutsugi peach style, which was far superior to them, was far from the opponent of Otsutsugi Buddha. Finally found the right enemy. Otsutsugi Huang Quan said with emotion, "Let me see how strong you are now, Otsutsugi Buddha." Otsutsugi Huang Quan also teleported himself into the time and space, and he felt this situation for the first time, as if he was involved in some water flow. His body involuntarily turned around. Advertisement gently opened a crack. Otsutsugi Wangchen controlled the floating Otsutsugi Peach and Otsutsugi Pusties around him. Looking back at the battlefield, he found that the Otsutsugi Buddha was in a state of madness. At this time, he had lost the enemy, so he set his sights on the Otsutsugi knight closest to him. He really has that kind of power. The battle was initiated and ended by him, and the opponent had no choice. However, the moment they entered the time-space, it was as if they were involved in some time-space Uzumaki. The whole person was in pain, and there was no way to live unharmed. Otsutsugi Wangchen is still a little scared, but fortunately they're completely out of the battle. All he can do now is to stabilize himself in this chaotic space and time, so as to see the current battle situation through the space-time rift. After the transfer, he immediately rushed towards the Otsutsugi Peach form, which was put down by Otsutsugi Buddha, but hadn't recovered for a while, and absorbed him through passive absorption of time and space. It's terrifying. 12 As long as he doesn't open the time-space, Otsutsugi has no way to get close to him. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Hiding in time and space means that they have no connection with the present Earth. It seems that what he said only needs one finger to completely solve them. It is not a fool's dream. This reminded him of what that Otsutsugi Knight's men had done to his time-space in the beginning. That's right, it's just a simple punch, so simple, but it makes his time and space chaotic now, and there is no way to function normally. How strong is that person? There was no other way. Seeing this, Otsutsugi Huang Quan could only teleport the Pushi to zero when the space was opened at the first time. Chapter 252 The Devil Who Can Destroy the World. Otsutsugi Huang Quan said, with a faint excitement in his heart, because he had already sensed that the power of Otsutsugi Buddha at this time was enough to destroy the entire world. If such power wasn't enough to destroy Otsutsugi, it would at least justify his current retreat. Just sacrifice the Otsutsugi stupa, but it doesn't matter anymore. There is no need for a guy who can't recognize his teammates clearly. At this moment, Otsutsugi Buddha locked on the enemy in front of him. Although he said that he didn't know who this person was, he instinctively wanted to kill, to smear the blood of the other party on his body, and even to think about it. Rip off the opponent's head and drink up his marrow. Holding this kind of terrifying thought, he even once smiled excitedly and proudly. After seeing Otsutsugi's peach style, Otsutsugi Huang Quan and others running away, Yi Lin felt a little regretful for a while, but there was nothing he could do. Fight or end the fight. This can only be regarded as his own emblem. But the person in front of him, these 06 guys who looked crazy and killed his own people from the very beginning, he knew. Otsutsugi Buddha, his own men defeated. At the beginning, he had the power to fight against him, but later he joined forces with Teru Yoruichi, and he was sealed in the technique, and he no longer had the ability to fight against him. Unexpectedly, he was actually released by his clan now. Although there was one more enemy, Yi Lin felt that it was insignificant now. After all, the ability of this guy named Otsutsugi Buddha, he has been fully aware of it early on. There is nothing special about it. It's just that it seems a little different now, and the power seems to have become more violent. I don't know what he has experienced in the spells in the past few years. Could it be that someone secretly offered him something? Yi Lin thought about it carefully, and suddenly he understood. Advertisement. This place is Tangnan Village. There was a legend here about the evil god, and I think the original Feiduan believed in this god. So since this is the case, this god is likely to be this guy, but I didn't expect that after a long time, he can still send his power out into battle. It seems that I think the seal of the year is still not reliable enough. Thinking that it was his own negligence, Yi Lin felt even more regretful. If he could seal this guy a little more completely, then he would be able to avoid this battle now. But even so, he is not afraid. Such a guy has fallen into madness and has no reason, no rational opponent, and no threat to him at all. Just like some monsters that can destroy the world and are omnipotent, but in the end they will still be wise. There is a reason for the human beings to play with applause. Because Otsutsugi Wangchen had already escaped, Yi Lin also recovered the Pelukia puppet. Now, he just wants to see how powerful One Punch Man is and how much shock it can bring to him. Saitama, kill this lunatic. After giving the easy order, the puppet started to move, and rushed up suddenly, trying to force Otsutsugi Buddha back with the might of his own punch. But what the rest did not expect at all was that although the Otsutsugi Buddha at this time did not have his fist of hard steel, his speed was far higher than his, or that Saitama at this time had not yet fully taken seriously and was in an ordinary state. The power of the fist is still there, and it is enough to destroy the Otsutsugi Buddha, but in terms of power, it is completely inferior to the Otsutsugi Buddha who has fallen into madness. This is reflected in the original world of One Punch Man. Although he said that he could see the super fast movements of the people around him, it was very difficult for him to be serious. So when he saw the Otsutsugi Buddha suddenly disappear in front of him, he didn't feel the difference for the first time, but felt that it would be more troublesome. But this is understandable, because his original intention to be a hero is because of interest. If the person in front of him can make him a little interested, and can delay his battle for dozens of seconds, then it is not a problem. However, at this time, Otsutsugi Buddha did not think about such a thing at all. He just felt that his power was far above this person, and he could easily crush him, so he seemed to be trying to use his strongest state. In the same way, he moved frantically at a high speed, and when Saitama didn't react, he suddenly kicked him into the air from below. Saitama thought, let's play with him like this, so he closed his eyes and embraced his arms. Although his body was flying uncontrollably in the air, he thought in his head, what kind of game should he buy to play? Or how to deal with the opponent in front of him next may not seem very perfunctory. Advertisement however, Otsutsugi Buddha was playing with a strange smile on his face, and terrifying laughter from time to time. He seems to have completely forgotten all his ninjutsu and tricks, using his own fists completely, and is extremely fast. Because of the bonus of Otsutsugi's body and the increase in negative energy brought to him, his movement speed has become quite terrifying, and every punch on Saitama's body seems to tear it apart. However, Saitama was not injured by any 470, but his clothes were slightly damaged. At this moment, Otsutsugi Taoshi and Otsutsugi Wangchen, who were watching the battle in time and space, were greatly surprised when they saw this scene in front of them. Unexpectedly, Otsutsugi Buddha was so strong that he could actually torture this guy to such a state. It can't be said that it is very strong, it can be said that it is very strong. It seems that the victory of this battle has no suspense. Otsutsugi Wangchen commented. Otsutsugi Buddha thought the same thing in his heart. Each of his punches was faster and more ruthless than the last, but as time dragged on, the more he realized that no matter how powerful his hook was, the one in front of him, the guy always seemed to be immune to any harm, except that the clothes on his body were too damaged to bear to look directly at, but there was still no decent damage to his body. What happened? Otsutsugi Buddha hesitated, and the speed and power of his hooks dropped significantly. He began to slowly regain his senses, and it was precisely because he regained his senses that he became more hesitant in attacking. Clearly sensing that the opponent's attack was coming to an end, Saitama finally opened his eyes. Let's buy instant noodles to eat. He nodded late, then stretched out a fist and softly hit Otsutsugi Buddha. Chapter 253 The Power of One Punch. Otsutsugi Buddha felt extremely amused in his heart. How could such a slow fist possibly cause him any harm? Without dodging, he punched his abdomen. However, what he did not expect in any case was that it was precisely because of his simple indulgence this time that he died without a place to be buried. The moment his fist hit his body, his complexion suddenly changed, and large drops of sweat fell from his face. No way, he seemed to feel something. At this moment, Yi Lin's smile appeared in the distance. He looked up and found that the other party was already waiting for the good news of his subordinate's victory. There was a sharp pain in the abdomen, and Otsutsugi was terrified. What kind of power is this? How could it possibly beat me so badly? It's obviously just an ordinary fist. He screamed wildly in his heart, and was finally beaten back to his senses, and he no longer dared to show the negative emotions on his body. It was also at this moment that he looked at Yi Lin, who was standing on the ground, watching him being easily resolved by his subordinates. In a daze, he recalled who this person was. It's the one who once sealed him in the magic circle. The power of that person, he still has lingering fears, for fear that one day he will pull it out of the sealing techniques array on a whim and destroy it completely. In the long sealing career, he has been waiting for his death, but in the end he still did not wait for him to come and execute him. From this, he judged Yun. This person did not have the ability to kill him, so he turned from fear to Chingdi, even disdain. It's just that he never imagined that now he finally came out of the middle of the seal, but bumped into this guy again, and this time he seems to be tens of billions of times more tyrannical than the last time. This subordinate of his looks ordinary, even like a soldier, even like an ordinary person, but he did not expect to have such a terrifying power. Looks like I lost. Otsutsugi Buddha was so desperate, his eyes finally closed slowly. It was also at this time that One Punch Man's fist was finally fully punched out. With a loud bang, the sky and the earth shook, and Otsutsugi's body burst into pieces, and accompanied by a painful and frightened cry, it turned into dust in the world. Advertisement seemingly unable to reshape his body any longer, Otsutsugi Buddha died and was completely wiped out. Even if the Otsutsugi clan had an immortal human body, they could easily heal their own injuries, but they still could not offset the damage caused by this punch. At this moment, Otsutsugi Wangchen and Otsutsugi Peach Style, who were watching the battle in the space and time, seemed to have eaten a big mouthful of Coptus chinensis. Their mouths were bitter and astringent, and even choked up, but most of them were despair. They did not expect that Otsutsugi Buddha, who was even ashamed of himself, would die in such an understatement with a simple punch with a bald head. And this bald head is still an ordinary subordinate of this Otsutsugi knight. An ordinary subordinate has such terrifying power, so how should they fight this monster? Otsutsugi Huang Quan took a gulp of water and trembled uncontrollably. He is now a little fortunate that the enemy he is fighting against is not such a terrifying guy, but a monster that can tear apart space. He is now able to check and usher in a small life, which is really a blessing. Let's report this matter to the top. The situation is far beyond your control. Otsutsugi Wangchen Otsutsugi said in Peach Style. Otsutsugi Peach Style nodded. Indeed so. Although it is said that he is the rescuer sent by the high level obviously did not expect that on such a remote planet, there will be such a terrifying power. The universe is really big and full of wonders, and this place should not be underestimated. However, at this time, everything is not over yet. Because he already felt that the opponent had completely eliminated Akatsuki, Yilin's Saitama puppet had reached the limit of use, and he would not accumulate it for the next battle, so it dissipated immediately. Feeling that the super plug-in that he had filled suddenly disappeared, Yilin felt a sense of loss. Next time he drew Saitama, he didn't know it was the year of the monkey. But this time it was really cool, such a formidable opponent was easily eliminated so easily. However, what he never imagined was that when he decided to withdraw his troops, all of a sudden, the breath of Otsutsugi Buddha lay on the battlefield again. Ha 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 ha. As if hiding and drying for a long time, the body fragments of Otsutsugi Buddha suddenly appeared in the air and became bigger and bigger. They fused together and finally reshaped into a huge figure that was as terrifying as a demon. Seeing this, Yilin felt a little puzzled. Advertisement. What's the matter? Not dead. Suddenly he understood again. Saitama's ability is to completely eliminate the opponent, but if the opponent's healing ability is relatively strong, he can even take several more punches from him and not die. Just like Boros, who once fought with One Punch Man, he has a very strong cell regeneration ability, so even though Saitama hooked many times when fighting Saitama, he can easily restore his body. Although it was said that he was crushed into dust in the end because his healing ability couldn't keep up, it was precisely because of this ability that he eventually became the only guy under One Punch Man who could fight him dozens of times. If a group of supermen hadn't died, then they could continue to destroy the Otsutsugi Buddha, but Yilin had drawn a temporary puppet after all, so he had no choice but to use his own puppet to destroy this guy. This time, it is completely wiped out, and will not give him any chance of resurrection. And Otsutsugi Buddha also knew that he was not the opponent of the bald head, so he did not choose to revive for the first time, but suffered the pain of splitting in the Chunin of heaven and earth. Withdrew, he continued to reshape his body back. And this time, he came with the negative emotions of the whole world. That's right, he is no longer a real guy, but a fusion monster condensed by negative emotions. Fighting him is fighting all the negativity in the world. In the long career, I don't know how many people, Qian Zhao, had negative emotions before they died, which turned into the most voodoo wishes and merged into the body of Otsutsugi Buddha, which also caused his strength to rise. Previously, because he couldn't control this power, his mind collapsed and he ran wild, but now because of the bald head's attack, he now has a certain understanding of his own power. Being crushed into dust could not make him disappear completely. Otsutsugi Buddha also had a lot of confidence. He can try 10,000 times until he kills this guy completely. In this regard, Yilin just smiled. Although he didn't know what kind of stimulation the Otsutsugi Buddha in front of him was receiving, he continued to rush towards him again and again. But he knew that if he didn't get rid of him completely this time, then he would become endless. So, he summoned his 3 strongest 6 Paths level puppets. They are divided into police officers one by one. Beast Kaido. Otsutsugi Month. Ancestor Ymir. Chapter 254. The Strong Debut. Boom. With the first loud noise, Kaido swept across the sky, like an ancient demon god, suddenly hooked up from the sky, and then fell to the ground with ease, but caused very terrifying damage on the ground. The ground was smashed into a deep pit, and his feet sank deeply into it. In one hand, he carried a huge mace, covered with dense spikes, which looked very lethal. The other hand clenched his fist tightly, and his eyes stared at the enemy in front of him. Although it looks ferocious, but in fact he has not woken up from the wine. Just like a passive skill, he does not drink alcohol all the time, and he has to get himself drunk every time he fights, so that he will feel hearty when fighting the enemy. Taking advantage of his drunkenness, he even wanted the other party to kill him, which was his lifelong wish. In the past, even if he fell to the ground from a height of 10,000 meters, he was still unscathed, which made him feel very troubled. Although this is a very invincible skill for people, but in his opinion, 487 is actually nothing. It is nothing more than not being able to die. His physical recovery ability is very strong, which is not only very surprising, but also unimaginable. There is no way to kill, is the best summary of him. But even so, his lethality is still not to be underestimated. Since he ate the fish and fish, his body has become like this. Although he looks very clumsy, he looks like a giant with limited mobility, but only those who know him know how great Kaido is. Fear. Not only him, but also the powerhouses around him, as well as the 3 major disasters under his command, whose terrifying level can make countless people feel his coercion. It seemed that it was precisely because of his appearance that Otsutsugi Buddha had a slight accident at this time. He didn't expect that a creature that was almost the same size as his own would appear in front of him. He represents the negative energy of the entire planet, even if he doesn't include his previous Otsutsuki physique. His current strength is definitely the world's top. Advertisement. Not only that, but the body size is also the largest AGCG in the world. But now, although he said that there is no way to compare when flying in the air, he still felt his size. In front of this strange guy, he was almost evenly matched, and there was no difference between who was bigger and who was smaller. But the two of them are already huge creatures compared to the others. It's really fun. Otsutsugi Buddha laughed. At this time he did not realize the seriousness of the matter. Not only him, but even Otsutsuki Wangchen, who was watching the battle in time and space, did not realize that at this time. He thought that Otsutsugi Buddha had been killed by that mysterious bald head, so there was still a little bit of despair in his heart, but now it doesn't seem to be the case at all. Not only was Otsutsugi Buddha not killed, but it seemed that his power had reached a new level, becoming even more terrifying. It seems that Otsutsugi Buddha has recovered his sanity, so the next battle will be watched. Otsutsugi Huangquan said that finally he mustered up such hope and felt that everything was not so bad. However, just when he was thinking so, Yi Lin summoned Chin's first puppet to make him feel hopeless again. This guy is holding a mace in his hand, and his body is extremely huge, almost the same as Otsutsugi Buddha, and his face is even more ferocious, his muscles are tucked, and he doesn't look like an ordinary person. Otsutsugi Buddha would be too much to fight against such a person, but who can say for sure? Otsutsugi Huangquan also doesn't know how strong is the collective reading of negative emotions in this world, and can it bring him some unexpected joy? Thinking of this, he began to wait and see. I watched with the surrounding Otsutsugi peach and Otsutsugi bushes, and remained cautiously optimistic. Because he knew that this battle might not actually be able to be won. If they couldn't win, then they would choose to flee instead of continuing to fight. It is their top priority to report everything that happens on this planet to their high-level executives. Advertisement. At this moment, Kaido landed on the ground, and he looked at everything around him with a fierce look on his face. Especially when you see the Otsutsugi Buddha in front of you. Looking at his physique that was the same as his own, he immediately noticed something, and he felt that he was finally about to meet a decent opponent. After all, in the original world, all his opponents were several times smaller than him. Only the Ant, one of the 4 emperors, and the former Whitebeard were almost the same size as him. Then there are some monsters, but those monsters are usually weak and not worth mentioning. In his impression, those who are almost the same in size as him are also similar in strength to him, so this battle is destined to be very interesting, and he has fully felt it. A smile gradually appeared on his face, and he even felt that the guy in front of him was likely to cause him some damage, but it was still doubtful whether he could kill him. Yi Lin looked at Kaido. His puppet at the bottom of the box was finally used on the table. Originally, he thought that it would not be used too much for the time being, and One Punch Man could solve the opponent, but he didn't expect that because of his decision-making mistakes, he did not judge that the opponent did not disappear, but was only temporarily hidden, so he had to put it away. This killer copper is brought to the table. But if One Punch Man can't completely eliminate this guy with strong healing power, then Kaido is estimated to have a period of time. Yi Lin looked at the sky and felt that continuing to fight would be very disadvantageous to him, so he decided to fight quickly and use his absolute strength to completely wipe out this guy. If you don't get rid of it this time, then it will be useless to send any powerful puppets. This guy can't be that strong, can he? Yi Lin thought, and at the same time summoned the second puppet, Otsutsugi Yu. Otsutsugi month belongs to the Otsutsugi clan, so his ability is no different from that of other Otsutsugi clan, but Yi Lin knows that he is not the same as the others. Ding, he is actually a bug. A puppet that was hooked by the traditional creation. Such a puppet, so he has no experience compared to other characters in the original works, but maybe because of this, he may become a dark horse. Chapter 255. And being diligent in his SS rank, Yi Lin felt that he would not be too weak, so he summoned him. But even so, he still felt that something was wrong. What if the other party had a chance to breathe? What would he do if he took this opportunity to escape? He gave his healing power to 1 2, 2 3, 3 producing all things, and copied it to other Otsutsuki people, so wouldn't the next battle be even more terrifying? Therefore, to be safe, he summoned a third puppet, the ancestor Ymir. The Otsutsuki moon crossed the sky. The body is illusory and floating like a shadow, or a soul. It seems that there is no entity, there is no way to touch him, but this is probably because of his ability. Yi Lin looked at him. I wanted him to show his abilities, and then give him some hook orders, but now it seems that his abilities should also be related to the hollow of his own body, and it seems that he should focus on spells for others. Attack or mentally attack them. In this case, it is possible to counteract the Otsutsugi Buddha to a certain extent, making him unable to continue fighting, and resealing it is also an option. At this time, Otsutsugi didn't say a word, he just looked around quietly. Although the body is small, it looks very weak and does not look like a strong man, but he looks at everyone with very transparent eyes without any fear. This made Yi Lin feel that he should be reliable, no matter what. He was a member of the Otsutsugi clan, so it wouldn't be too bad. And since Fantong created him, he should have some ability to make him dazzled, otherwise why, marked as SS rank. Is there any guarantee in the traditional SS? The last one to be hooked is the ancestor giant Ymir, who came from the world of attacking giants. Yi Lin didn't actually plan to summon her, but after thinking about it, 2 of the 3 SS levels in his hand have already been sent to the battlefield, and the remaining one is also reserved. It is better to send all of them. What if you use it? It was only when the primordial giant rose from the ground, and the incomparably huge figure drilled hooks from the ground, he began to feel that Kaido seemed to be insignificant. Advertisement because essentially, Kaido is also a guy who fights by martial arts. The proto-giant is far bigger and taller than him, and it's possible that Kaido will have nothing to do once she's on the court. But Kaido did not disappoint Yi Lin. His fruit is a phantom beast, which can turn into a dragon to fight, and the dragon breath that he turns into can raise an entire city to the ground. Of course there is no need to speak. All 3 puppets appeared, which can be said to have turned over all Yi Lin's bottoms and placed them on the table. Next, if you want to take out any trump cards, you must spend points to exchange them from the traditional shopping malls. But now Yi Lin doesn't have a lot of points left after redeeming One Punch Man, so this battle is a battle with all his strength. Yi Lin didn't want his puppet to be like a gourd baby saving his grandfather. He wants all 3 of them to play together, and if there is a chance, then he can definitely kill Otsutsugi Buddha. However, if Otsutsugi Buddha knew what Yi Lin was thinking, he would definitely think that he was completely overthinking it. Because since he saw the first Kaido, he has been completely serious and feels that he has to do his best to win the battle. But then there was a guy who looked exactly like his own clan, so he still didn't see him, but he could judge from the strength of the reincarnated eyes, this guy should have decent strength. And he hasn't panicked too much, or even made any stressful actions, so his whole cards are likely to be unfathomable and undetectable. Forget these 2, anyway, it makes Otsutsugi Buddha feel that he has almost no hope of winning. However, when the 3rd Yi Lin's men came down, Otsutsugi Buddha was completely desperate. He had never seen such a huge creature. When the hook came from the ground, the world seemed to tremble. Advertisement: a gigantic head looks for fishing first, followed by the spine, the body, and then the stout and huge limbs. 0. For flowers. Otsutsugi Buddha raised his head and looked at this behemoth with fear. Although he had seen such huge creatures on his original planet, those creatures were nothing compared to the guy in front of him, very, very small. This thing is really too big, bigger than any summons. And she seems to have her own reason, not like an ordinary brainless idiot summoning. As a result, the difficulty of the battle was greatly increased, and Otsutsugi Buddha did not even have the desire to fight. But even if he doesn't fight, he has to fight, because he has no way out. Those guys who eat inside and outside have sold him here, and there is no room for him to escape. Now he can only fight to the death. In World War I, save his own life. Only in this way can he return to his own planet. And at that time, he must tell the high level the battle process here completely, and let them pay more attention to this planet, no longer treat it as just a small colony planet, but as a real hostile planet to look at. The powerhouses on this planet are simply too unimaginable. 1 is not enough, there are 2 or 3, 4 or 5, or even 6 or 7. Otsutsugi Buddha felt that to deal with them, they must be on the highest alert and detour, otherwise they may be backlashed and the entire army will be wiped out. With a high tension on his face, Otsutsugi Buddha did not dare to say anything more provocative, for fear that he would anger them and cause him to die faster. What he is thinking now is to raise his own strength to a new level, absorb all the negative emotions in the world into himself, and even deprive other people of the vitality of life. Clenching his fists, he gritted his teeth, and a purple-black light lit up around his body, and he suddenly flew into the air. Some black energy was sent to him from all over the world, and the intense intensity of those energy was even visible to the naked eye. Yi Lin has never seen such a scene before. He doesn't know what those things are, but from the previous judgment, it can be seen that these should come from the biological energy deficit of all human beings around the world. Chapter 256 Final Ceremony. It can't be Chara, it could be something else, just like the Vigilance Bomb in Dragon Ball. Is he going to fight with vitality bullets? Yi Lin thought, and began to order Kaido and the ancestral giant to attack this guy in order to interrupt his absorption ceremony. However, as the evil god of Tang Ninja Village, Otsutsugi Buddha has too many channels to absorb negative energy. The first is his own followers, who have absorbed all their immortality, and the second is all the human beings in the world who have ever hated others. They have no spiritual barriers themselves, and there is no way to guard their own power, so they were easily stolen by the evil god Otsutsugi Buddha. It can be said that in the whole world, except for some very advanced god tiers, no one can escape his absorption. 487. Yi Lin has Tensigen on his body, so he will not be disturbed by this kind of absorption. But not so with some of his other puppets, especially Kaido. Because he was a pirate in the original world and killed countless people, he was full of ill will. After being absorbed by Otsutsugi Buddha, there was a direct use of waste, which made his power even more violent. Kaido rushed up and slammed him down with his mace, but it didn't cause any substantial effect, just created a shockwave around him, not even tearing his shield. Ha ha ha. It's useless. When I absorb negative emotions, my power is equivalent to the sum of all the people in the world. Can you fight against the world alone? Otsutsugi Buddha said with a smile, his voice extremely sharp and piercing. This angered Kaido, and the thing he couldn't stand was the high-pitched sound, because it made him feel very irritable. Especially now that he is still drunk, and after drinking too much, no matter who he is, he will dare to challenge him. The guy in front of him not only made such a sharp and piercing laughter, but also laughed at him like an idiot. Doesn't he know Uncle Kaido? Advertisement full of anger, Kaido didn't think much about it, and immediately tightened the mace in his hand. Bending the evil god in front of him, Otsutsugi Buddha slammed it. Thunder 8 trigrams. Kaido's extremely powerful killer move, even Luffy, who had turned on the 4th gear, didn't catch it, and was smashed by the hammer. Sure enough, it was precisely because of this move that although the Otsutsugi Buddha was protected by the evil god, it was still affected, and the process of absorbing the energy of the whole world was completely interrupted, and there was no way to continue. It took him by surprise. He originally wanted to absorb all the negative forces of everyone in the world. In this case, he was equivalent to controlling the entire world, and no one would compare with him, unless that person could tear the entire planet to shreds. But he doesn't believe that such a person exists. But now he believes it. Kaido's blow directly knocked it back from imagination to reality. All his sweet dreams were shattered, and he had to start facing the enemy in front of him again. He clenched his teeth fiercely, clenched his fists, and launched his previous tricks with a sound in front of him, 80 empty strikes. Extremely strong acceleration, warning the front to launch a flawless attack. Because of the result of being doped with negative energy, each blow has extremely strong power. However, Kaido completely blocked the attack by simply raising his mace horizontally. His attacks were not even more powerful than the thundering 8 trigrams of Gai's state. Otsutsugi Buddha was completely shocked. He originally thought that the difference in strength was already huge, but he didn't expect that the difference in strength was such a big difference that even the opponent's light block was not completely broken, and even a layer of skin on his body was not broken. Not torn. But having said that, Kaido doesn't know how to fight back. He can only use passive defense now. Although he can completely defend against it, he is still restricted and cannot move at high speed. But Yi Lin's subordinates are not the only such a puppet. Seeing that the other party was already furious and attacked Kaido, and Ishin wanted to destroy it, Otsutsugi Yu immediately set off, took advantage of the emptiness, got into the body of Otsutsugi Buddha, and suddenly controlled his spirit. Advertisement so, in an instant, Otsutsuki's body was unable to move. He obviously does not have a physical body, it is a collection of energy, but he did not expect that he can be easily immobilized in this state, and he is still completely tearing away the energy from his body bit by bit. No, no. 59, he shouted in horror. If all the negative energy in his body was wiped away, then he would no longer exist, and there was no way to change back to his original state again. Oh. Although he has absorbed too much negative energy now, he has long since lost the chance to become a human again, but even so, he does not want to disappear from the world. Death is not terrible for some dead men, but he is the final result of human beings after all. Even if there is no fear of death, it is inevitable that you will feel fear when you are on the verge of death. Because no one knows what it will be like after death, it is possible that everything will disappear and everything will cease to exist, and the meaning of their own existence will no longer be clear. The negative energy in his body was exploited little by little, and Otsutsugi Buddha had no way to control his state, so he could only temporarily stop attacking and consolidate his spirit to prevent his body from being stolen. However, Kaido took advantage of the slightest gap and suddenly launched a counterattack. Another thunder, 8 trigrams, directly smashed the Otsutsugi Buddha from the sky to the ground, and smashed it on the dark ground. And by this time it is far from over. Beginning 2.6 When Zuyumir saw the Otsutsugi Buddha fell to the ground, he didn't hesitate to make up for the sky-high kick. The power of this foot is very terrifying, because after all, the size of the ancestor is very huge, including the horrors of heaven and earth. So his foot fell from the sky, landed with a bang, and directly smashed a footprint on the ground. The other strongmen of the police all smashed a deep pit, and the deep pit was very small compared to this footprint, and the footprint of the ancestor giant was directly engraved on the ground when it fell, and it did not experience a difficult year. There is no way to eliminate it. Otsutsugi Buddha suffered a huge physical shock, and his entire body was embedded in the ground, like a diamond owed to a ring. Without using any diamonds, there was no way to lift it from the ground. Chapter 257. He has never been able to fight back. I don't know what is the reason for being diligent. It is clear that he has no entity now, but he was beaten to death by these entities, which made him very puzzled. Yi Lin has also guessed this point. In his opinion, these puppets of his own are likely to be phantom images from the world of the police. After all, they're just puppets, not entities. Although it has 100% of the power of the Primarch, it is still only a creation. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to take orders from themselves so simply. Therefore, their attack methods can be counted on the body of Otsutsugi Buddha, because they are all illusory, and the illusory to the illusory can almost be said to be offset, and everyone is on the same starting line. Seeing that Otsutsugi Buddha had failed, Otsutsugi Wangchen and Otsutsugi Peach, who were in time and space, looked at each other. They never dreamed that Otsutsugi Buddha had not even succeeded in fighting back, face dead. This shows how unfathomable the strength of this guy named Otsutsugi Yi is. He didn't even make a move, just relying on his subordinates to solve it, the highest combat power they can bring to rhyme. It seems that we have to report to the high level, whether to give up this colony. Or if we want to send a stronger expert, we can only ask the high level to make a decision. You and I really have nothing to do. Otsutsugi Wangchen said, watching Otsutsugi Peach style asking his opinion. Otsutsugi nodded, his face still full of shock. You are right, I don't dare to say anything now, after all, even Otsutsugi Buddha has been killed by this guy, so to be honest, even if I continue to fight, there is no chance of winning. To be wise, we are still looking for some experts, and it is obvious that there is no way to deal with things here. Well, I can now understand why Kagaya betrayed. It is very likely that he was threatened by this creature, causing him to have no other way, and was finally brutally killed by them. Pushi said, otherwise, how to explain her staying on such a planet? Makes sense. Otsutsugi Huangquan nodded, and the three disappeared in space. They flew into their own realm, their own time and space. At this time, the Otsutsugi Buddha was abandoned on the planet by them. With the support of the last bit of negative emotions, he lingered on. Yi Lin walked in front of him and looked at his hideous appearance. At the beginning, his ghostly appearance could scare a lot of people, but now it can be said to be very funny, like a clown. What's the matter? How do you lie on the ground? Stand up and continue fighting, Yi Lin mocked. Advertisement. He crouched down like he was looking at a dying dog. Otsutsugi Buddha glanced at Yi Lin in fear, but then laughed up to the sky, trembling all over. Ha 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 ha, like some kind of poison. The brain won't be damaged, Yi Lin thought to himself. What are you laughing at? He asked. No one can suddenly laugh when the policeman is about to die, without feeling strange. Yi Lin is one of them, so he asked directly. Because Otsutsugi Buddha was dying after all, he knew that he could not live any longer, so he simply told him why he laughed so much. Otsutsugi Knight, I already know that you are not one of our clansmen, you are just a fake, but it is a pity that you are the most terrifying clan in the entire galaxy, space and time, the most powerful clan. And then there will be more and stronger opponents will come to you, they will avenge me, you just wait to die, sooner or later, your body will rot into a pool of mud. 99. Well, are you done? Yi Lin looked at him indifferently. It's really boring, I thought he would say something that surprised me, but I didn't expect it was just a complete mouth before death. Don't worry, I will kill one of your clan in the future, no matter how powerful he is, he will eventually die in my hands. Yi Lin said and gave Otsutsugi the final blow, completely erasing him from the world. There were tears in Otsutsugi's eyes before he died. This is indeed a real strength gap. There is nothing to say. He originally thought that even if he died, he was killed by some unconventional means by the enemy, but now he died with 2 sticks and 1 kick. There is nothing special about it. Place. For them, dealing with his Otsutsugi Buddha was even like dealing with cockroaches. Am I really that bad? Otsutsugi Buddha shed tears of remorse, and eventually annihilated annihilation. After his death, Fantong also gave his reward to Yi Lin. Advertisement. The first is a lot of points, but there is also a more magical treasure won by 1 wish crystallization. It came from the dissipated body of Otsutsugi Buddha. Yi Lin didn't know what it did, and there was no clear explanation given above. Ability. Pause the passage of time for a short time. The pause time can be increased with the enhancement level, 1. Yi Lin was also confused. Thinking of this, he opened the point draw. He accepted the crystallization of this wish first, and then took rhyme when it was of any use in the future. Special raw materials cannot be assembled. Could it be a bonus to me? Yi Lin thought again. Congratulations to host for getting SS level Police Puppet 11 Platinum Star World. But fortunately, this battle gave him a lot of points, allowing him to buy something cool in the mall. What kind of material is the special raw material? Is it also mountable to puppets? Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. But his level made Yi Lin feel very surprised. SSR. Yi Lin thought to himself and wanted to put it on Kaido, but found that there was no way to assemble it at all. It was just a crystal, but what exactly does this crystal do? Fantong did not explain to the hook. Make a draw. One Punch Man is SSS grade. His power is already able to let any enemy be solved by 1 punch. It can be said that he can easily solve an opponent with 487, but the crystallization of this wish is more rare SSR grade. What does it do? I wanted to use this wish crystallize on myself, but got a complicated warning. Yi Lin was speechless. Why is Fantong like a riddle now and doesn't tell him anything? Chapter 258 Platinum Star. Substitute Messenger? What is a substitute messenger? Yi Lin has never heard of this term. Is it a profession? Or is this person, his nature is a stand-in messenger? As a person from the earth, Yi Lin knows that there is a saying in the entertainment industry that stunt performers do some difficult actions for some stars to complete things they don't need to do and take risks they don't need to take. In this way, they will not be injured because of doing difficult things in acting. It can be said that all the possibility of injury is eliminated. This is the actor stand-in. And now, does this stuntman called Platinum Star World? mean the same as this stuntman, and does it essentially perform some difficult actions for him? Yi Lin thought about it. There is no such thing as a difficult action. He lives in the battle every day, so everything is also a battle. Then this stand-in messenger is a soldier who fights for him, not only to shield him from the wind and rain, but also to help him block swords and guns. Useful is of course useful, but it seems that some of his other puppets are also used for this purpose. So it doesn't matter whether he is a substitute messenger or not, he is just a name after all. But he has a magical special ability that Yi Lin has never found in other puppets. It's the ability to pause time. Time suspension is well understood. It is to completely stop the elapsed time, so that when fighting with the enemy, you can completely take the lead and make them in their own control. Such a strong force, it is actually only an SS rank. Yi Lin thought for a while, and if he was traditional, he would add a level to this stand-in messenger and let him be promoted to SSS. In this way, his stand-in ability is also worthy of this level. When dealing with enemies, he will also use rhyme with Yi Lin's other top-level puppets. After all, this ability is really too buggy. Yi Lin can think with his toes to understand what he can achieve in the real battle. Advertisement. After thinking about it, Yi Lin felt that he should try it first to see how powerful he is. Wouldn't it be a big loss if his time pause range was similar to the other's attack range? These puppets in Yi Lin's hands are all warriors with very strong attack power, but their attack range is very close. It is a good thing to be able to control the enemy's spirit, but it can't deal substantial damage, and you need to ask other puppets. If you encounter an enemy with a long-range attack, wouldn't it be a complete break? These people all have to be slipped away by them like a fool. Even if they have a high defense, they will be broken sooner or later. There is no doubt that when a warrior has been disarmed, all that awaits him is death. So Yi Lin wanted to hook this puppet called Platinum Star World first to see how far his attack distance was. As soon as the idea moved, Yi Lin summoned it from the system. Unlike what he imagined, the Platinum World he thought should be a mage with a staff. As long as he moved the staff in his hand, he could stop the time in the world, and no one could do anything to him. Launch an attack. But at this moment, standing in front of him, or a soul-like object floating in front of him with both feet off the ground, is a man of 5 or 3 thick, very handsome, and his hair is also loose. Like the pharaohs of ancient Egypt, or the hairstyles in ancient Greek mythology, they are very magical and look very ancient anyway. The only remarkable thing is the muscles on his body. Very strong, and a pair of fists are also very powerful. Floating in the air, although it looks vain and invisible, it seems that as long as he is attacked by his punch, he will die suddenly on the spot. In this way, it seems to be a very powerful puppet, so Yi Lin feels that it can still be used. If Fantong gave him a puppet with a very poor physique that looked like a goose, then he would have to ask for a return. Fortunately, this Platinum Star World puppet is still relatively conscientious, at least it doesn't seem to be so weak, and it is also the best among some of his other puppets. The body is very well proportioned. Too skinny like Otsutsugi. Yi Lin keeps Otsutsugi month because his spirit ninjutsu is very powerful. But if his spiritual ninjutsu is very bad, and his appearance is also very thin, although Yi Lin does not discriminate, he still feels that such a puppet is useless from the bottom of his heart. Advertisement. It's really pitiful. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. It seems that there is no reason, or wisdom, but it is really more like a puppet. He accepted the order very fast, and in just a split second, he immediately used all his strength, and suddenly hooked to the boulder beside him. The speed was very fast. Others include his melee attack ability, and Yi Lin thinks it's just average. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Oh. The most important thing is to try his time pause ability. If he can't pause time, then Yi Lin Ji thinks it's a big loss. Yi Lin's face is inexplicable. What is it? Why does he call it that? Although it looks very powerful, this voice still makes Yi Lin feel that he is in a play. He has never seen such a middle two puppet from Qianzhou. Maybe this is the characteristic of that world. In front of him, the Platinum Star World made its own cry. In the end, he tried all of his attack methods. Only one, Meteor Fingerstick, which seemed to be able to extend his attack distance to 10 meters, was very lethal and could stab the opponent's head within 10 meters. The others are all melee attacks, and are very simple and rude bombardment with fists. If it weren't for his special ability to pause time, then Yi Lin would feel that he was lured by Fantong to the wolf. Yi Lin gave him an order to attack a boulder beside him. Without any tricks, at most it looks very fierce, and the punching speed is faster, that's all. And when hooking, he will make a fast and violent sound at the same time. Aura Aura Aura. Chapter 259. The Terrible Place of Time. Stop. Platinum Star, the use time is suspended, Yi Lin ordered. Until this time, he subsequently discovered that the name of the puppet was Platinum Star, and World was the name of his skill. Yi Lin didn't know why he called the time pause World, but it might be the name of his trick, and the other puppets are the same, so there is no need to be too entangled in this kind of thing. Finally, after Platinum Star did not perform any spell casting actions, the time of the world really stopped, and even if Yi Lin was put aside, Kaido's puppet could not move freely. Yi Lin kicked it casually. Kaido found that even he was so proud that he didn't realize that he was kicked. In this case, wouldn't it be a matter of digging into the bag to kill these guys? But after he walked 10 meters away, he suddenly discovered that the outside world was still the same, but the time here was briefly paused. That is to say, its casting distance is 10 meters, and beyond 10 meters, there is absolutely no way to do it, and it is still a melee warrior. Although it feels a little lost, it is still acceptable. Yi Lin felt that if he practiced this puppet well, he might be able to play his role. Even if his casting distance was so close, it would be enough to throw it in front of the enemy during battle, and the opponent would not know it anyway. He can pause for 487 minutes, as long as he pauses once, he will be in his master for the next 7 seconds. And the opponent has no room for counterattack. I just don't know if it is possible that the other party's mental ability, or some other ability is stronger than him, forcibly interrupted the time suspension, which remains to be explored. So Yi Lin is not in a hurry. Since he is classified as SS, Yi Lin also has certain basis to judge that he is impossible to be interrupted. Otherwise, he would be classified as S rank, and even the lower A rank would be a bit too much. Putting away this puppet, Yi Lin also began to think about the next plan. First of all, there's the matter on the island of Oni. Advertisement. Yi Lin directed and acted a great drama by himself, and now he was about to let Hokage's gang get into his trap, and after watching him write and direct this drama, he was impressed and worshipped him. Now they are probably on their way, and if they get into their own trap, they have to quickly set up actors to stage such a big play for them. Kaido is by his side now, and he doesn't need it for the time being. Yi Lin has already distributed all the 3 major disasters under his command to that island. If it is simple, let them break through the island, it will make them feel light ants, and feel that even if Yi Lin stands in front of him in the end, they will not feel panic or admiration. What Yi Lin wanted was their worship, and only in this way would he be able to completely manipulate their minds, and this would be the best policy. As for why he didn't directly destroy them, Yi Lin felt that although these ninjas in this world are already very weak compared to him, they are one body and one world, and they can produce in this world various unknown possibilities. Those possibilities are likely to be opportunities. For example, this time Otsutsugi attacked the world of Hokage. If it wasn't for the fact that there was something in this Hokage world that could attract them, they wouldn't have come to such a place where birds don't poop to invade, and they were finally beaten away by Yi Lin and gained so many points. If Yi Lin wants to become stronger, he always needs points. These points do not come out of thin air. If he goes to the dream world to search everywhere, it will be a waste of time. It is the real, AGCG, time saving, which is the real strategy. Hence the need for the support of the Hokage world, the worship of all of them. It is better to make him the true king and obey his dispatch. At that time he can mobilize all the ninjas to study the time and space ninjutsu. Open the door of time and space with Namikaze Minato to the unknown world of Otsutsugi, and fish the high rises there. If you kill them all, you will be able to get more points. Who made their own traditions a point reward system? Advertisement. Defeating stronger opponents will naturally get more points, which is a very exciting thing, and Yi Lin is no exception. Thinking of this, he began to head towards the island of ghosts. He just drew a temporary puppet enough to make him excited for a long time. If he drew a whole one, it would be a victory for the European emperor. Although these puppets in Yi Lin's hands already have decent strength, people always want better, and Yi Lin is no exception. In the original world, when Yi Lin played games, he had never drawn such a powerful puppet. No matter what he played, even Krypton Gold could not be drawn, and he could only watch the police helplessly. People show off in front of him. The reward doesn't need to be great, just give him enough points. Anyway, the system mall will automatically give him some props and puppets that are enough to make anyone jealous. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. From the very beginning, he has fallen into his dream of becoming the strongest. If he can completely kill the high-level Otsutsugi, then he will definitely get a certain reward. He wants stronger and more powerful puppets, like One Punch Man. Looking at the super advanced puppets, or characters that they were able to draw out casually, Yi Lin could only be jealous and couldn't do anything about it. And the one who could save them was Yi Lin, and there was no policeman. Did you break the first level? In order to surprise them, Yi Lin set up 5 floors for Ghost Island. Each floor is guarded by a very powerful boss. They can rely on Yi Lin. But now he can have these extremely real puppets by himself. This is something that the game world can't do in his entire life, and it is very worthwhile. Choosing to be his Yi Lin's friend was always the wisest choice. The first layer is the 3 major disasters, the second layer is the 12 Ghost Moon, the third layer and the fourth layer and the fifth layer are also very strong opponents, enough for these ninja coalition forces to see clearly, in the current world among them, how many strong people can destroy their Hokage world in pieces. Thinking of this, Yi Lin started to go to the Island of Ghosts, wanting to see what kind of situation the ninja coalition has reached there. Chapter 260 Oni Island Movie. The Island of Ghosts is still very far away from here. Yi Lin has nothing to move instantaneously, he can only teleport himself with the inverse puppet. On that island, there are many powerful puppets that he left on the island, such as those in the Shinigami world, the 13th team of the goddess and the Jingling garden. Now the script to be directed is the Hueco Mundo, force created by Yi Lin, who wants to fight against the ninja coalition, and as Jingling who fights with Hueco Mundo to help the ninja coalition, but also you can't be caught by them and think that you are acting. Therefore, as a director, Yi Lin felt that it was still difficult. After all,
He had never directed any movies before.
Now suddenly using puppets to perform a drama for these ninja coalition forces, there is really no experience to rely on. But Yi Lin has patience and interest, as long as the people in the Hokage ninja world believe that he is here to save the Hokage world, and that he is their friend, then the next step, much easier. Anyway, they definitely can't imagine that they are both good people and bad people, and they are completely infernal. He said good things and bad things in front of his door, and all with two faces. It's like changing your face, it turns red for a while, and turns white for a while. The white face is very cruel to them, making them realize that the world is so cruel, while the red face makes them feel that the world is so warm and there are such good people. These are all things Yi Lin needs to do, and he is now fully prepared. Unless someone knows the script in advance, it is impossible to debunk his design. In short, the world of Hokage is decided, those guys must see it to the end, and pay some price for his performance. Movies all require tickets, and Yi Lin is no exception. As long as he directs this big drama well, then these people from the ninja coalition, the village and the country will look at them, and sooner or later will give them sacrifices. It's something that you don't know, but it's very precious. For example, the tree of God or chara, advertisement. Gather all the chakras in their bodies into Yi Lin's body. Yi Lin thought this was a very good idea. First of all, there is nothing precious in the world of Hokage, and there is nothing that makes people feel good. This world is full of fighting and killing. You are not even unified yet. There are intrigues everywhere. Now that you are finally united because of the hostility of an external force, it is not necessarily a good thing. When these foreign forces are over, they will split back into their own country, and they will quarrel because of the issue of the distribution of the tailed beasts. Finally, they will turn out the Chenji rotten millet a few years ago. Quarrel, and then continue to split, until a final strong. These ninja villages are lawless. It is obvious that in their country, the person who has the most say is the daimyo, but the daimyo seems to be like Kun, which is the constitution. It is equivalent to the Emperor of Japan. It has no role, just a symbolic something in front of them. Although it is very important to be able to determine who is the real heir to the shadow with one word, but it seems that it is actually insignificant. What they can judge, in the end, is also specially chosen by Renkun for them. This decision-making power to choose the most suitable one among a large number of candidates is not really useful. And they can even declare war on their own. The name is just a puppet tool, it's their plaything. But now Yi Lin wants to treat the whole ninja world as his plaything, control this world well, and he has to go to the next world, so that people in the next world will feel fear and admiration for him. Unlike conquering the world, although you use force to suppress them forcibly, they will still not be grateful to you, they will not give you their good things, they will only hide them, tucked so that you can't find it. Yi Lin is not a full-time all-rounder, so there is no way to bring those treasures. The coordinates of his puppet are now on the island of Oni. On this island, Yi Lin can see the ninjas crawling along the island. What Yi Lin couldn't bear the most in his last life was the matter of suffering. That box can be exchanged for a lot of traditional points, and can be exchanged for more puppets, but if the Hokage world has to hide these things, if you want to find them, you must one by one clue after another. It can be said that it is very troublesome to find, and it can be said that it is also a very important thing.
Advertisement. They actually had a certain vigilance against this island from the very beginning, just like although they have fought between themselves, but at the current time of the fight, they still choose to stand together, which is from a certain to a certain extent, it is a good thing, but in fact, it is not necessarily.
0. For flowers. Yi Lin looked at them and felt that it was necessary to send them some small gifts that he had prepared. They could not be allowed to reach the Ghost Island so easily, and they had to pay some price. So Yi Lin ordered several of his puppets to go and play with them. First of all, let them have a real sense of awe for this island. They can't climb up so easily, as if nothing happened, they must lay in ambush. Therefore, since he has the strength in this lifetime, he will never let himself suffer even the slightest bit of suffering. If he can lie down, he will never stand, and if he can fall down, he will never sit. Using the reverse puppet summoning technique, he summoned himself to his puppet. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Seeing that that force has not had any diplomacy with other countries, it is a very wise thing to clear it first, at least it will not make the world more divided. Although they can use chara to travel quickly, and the speed will be very fast, but this is an unknown place for them after all. Using too much chara will cause them to be exhausted, and they will be unbearable in the final battle. It's really ridiculous. Just like the box of bliss in the country of grass, it is a very good treasure. From his perspective, all the ninja coalition forces can be found. Yi Lin is a person who is afraid of trouble. Although these treasures are very good, if he is asked to find them one by one in person, just like an ascetic looking for his own, it is really too Zheng Xiao. They don't want their world to be interfered with by more forces. Even if he activates all his puppets, it is estimated that it will take some time to find them.
Chapter 261 Do whatever you want. Allowing those foreign invaders to do whatever they want in their world is a very bad thing.
It is very bad for the world and for the interests of each of them. Therefore, in order to expel the Tartars and restore the ninja world, they still felt that it was necessary to unite together. But the alliance is also conditional. From the very beginning, they hated each other's enemy very much, and now they suddenly say that they want to ask, in fact, there will be some feuds. Yi Lin didn't plan to stop them too much at first, and if they were too afraid of this island, they might even quit and go back to their own shivering. That's a terrible thing. It is necessary to let them have confidence in themselves and move forward bravely, and at the same time let them suffer. 4 to 8-7. In the end, unable to attack for a long time, and finally come to the rescue by themselves, this is a very technical task that tests Yi Lin's patience. But Yi Lin felt that he had the ability to do it well, so at the moment, when the coalition forces started to climb the island of ghosts, it rang out some small puppets that he had treasured. Those puppets were insignificant, they were some useless puppets that he had drawn in the lottery in the traditional points mall. For example, some marines in the marine world, some pirates, and even some ninjas in the ninja world. Their strengths are naturally very ordinary, even worth mentioning, but before fighting the final boss, it is common sense to fight mobs first. Yi Lin sent some small minions over, draining their physical strength, and finally the big boss rushed over and stepped on them in one fell swoop, which is also a very interesting thing. And it also helped his plans. Thinking of this, Yi Lin began to use fantasy to materialize and put these puppets in front of the ninja coalition. The Ninja Alliance was not prepared to fight against a large number of enemies from the beginning, because they knew that those Hueco Mundo forces were hidden in the void, and they only had a very small number of subordinates, and those subordinates were all heavyweights. High-level characters, for them, it is very likely that they will give away their heads when they go to the battlefield. Advertisement, but it doesn't matter, it is a very honorable thing to sacrifice one's life for one's own world. In fact, their ninjas do not have any glory at all, but they have a ninja. I would rather die than betray my organization, or ninja is the last bit of value I leave to the world. At this moment, the allied ninja army was on their way anxiously, and suddenly in front of them, in the darkness, they found a lot of things that they had never seen before. Some are some ghosts, some are normal people, but their costumes are very uniform, but they look very strange to these ninjas. They had never seen such a strange human being in their world at all, and even they had never seen anything like this that they could call a creature. It's because they can move, but they're still too weird after all. However, in this island of ghosts, all they can encounter must be some monsters or enemies. Wouldn't say they are allies. Just like the giants they saw under the sea from the moment before they went to the island. Those giants looked ferocious, as if they could smash them all to death, shred them and eat them in their mouths, and wipe them out completely. It is impossible for them to see any friendly troops on this island, not to mention the Jingling court did not tell them what other species exist on this island at the beginning. They don't know whether they're a neutral species, so when they encounter these monsters, the first thing they think about is to kill them. 1 to kill 1, 2 to kill 2, 1 to kill it's rough, you can't let him get close anyway. The ninja coalition is still very sensitive to the enemy's situation. The first time they encountered the monsters, they responded immediately and set up a battle. First, Earth-style ninjas act as meat shields in the front, and use Earth-style to raise high walls to block them all. Then the water-style ninjas fell from the sky, some waterways blocked their progress, and then the fire-style shot flames into the sky, like the arrows of lit arrows, at them. Advertisement: this is their conventional fighting method, except for the most tragic hand-to-hand combat. This method can avoid greater casualties. In the ninja world, casualties are a very common thing. Almost every battle will kill some people, not only ninjas, but also some civilians who will be affected. So in this world, death is considered a very common thing, there is nothing to say. However, when these ninjas encounter these ghosts, they will instinctively retreat and do not want to be touched by them. Even if there are some pirates among them, they don't have any ability themselves, they are just mortal, attacking the ninjas with knives, spears, and...
For ninjas, this is actually equivalent to being bitten by a mosquito, which is insignificant.
But after all, they didn't know what the flaming firearm they were holding was, so they all backed away. There is no gun in the ninja world. Their technology and skill tree is very crooked. It seems that because of chara and ninjutsu, they began to not pay attention to technology. Even in this modern age, they still use it. At first it was fought as a primitive way of fighting. Use a sword, and at most use ninjutsu. Just like their previous era, the samurai era, when Shinobu village was not established, we used the same 2.6 ninjutsu as their most common means of killing. But even so, they still did not develop any other technological tools to assist them in fighting. With ninjutsu, they don't have to research and develop technology anymore. Even an ordinary commoner can learn some of the simplest earth-style techniques to cultivate in his own manner, fields, and farming. One person is equivalent to many ordinary people. The labor force can be said to be very convenient. However, the ninjutsu they practiced is only the lowest level, the ninjutsu without any lethality. Some even ordinary people can use hook to come, very worthless. But at least under normal circumstances enough to use dark, and it is more than enough.
After all, no one is bored enough to farm and learn Ni chapter 262 singing forward.
The ninjutsu practiced by the serving ninjas are all for killing people, and they will never stop until they kill people, so they all exercise their killing methods to the extreme, because if your killing methods are not as good as the opponent's on the battlefield, it is possible to be killed by the opponent, or completely defeated, and there is no room for turning defeat into victory. In order to keep themselves alive, they will practice hard. It is precisely because all these thoughts are used on ninjutsu that they don't have much understanding of technology, and even basic science has been in the stage of budding, and then backward. In such a world, it is impossible for you to expect him to point out what kind of high-tech musket. So they are still very unfamiliar with this weapon. When I saw the weapon of the pirate grapple, there was some strangeness and even fear for a while. After all, fear comes from the unknown. At this time, some low-level puppets and ninja coalition forces thrown by Yi Lin and Rhyme killed Zuo Zui. At this time, the ninja coalition forces thought that these guys on this island were already the biggest threat in it, so they fought together, try best. As Hokage of Konoha village, Tsunade, the 5th generation's head, stood up to the Rhyme and sounded the call of the whole army to launch an inspiring 06, calling on everyone to persuade her to follow suit and launch an all-out attack against these people. So they followed the example of Hokage of Konoha village, and the shadows of other people's villages also encouraged the ninjas of their own village. The ninja coalition forces mustered up their courage, and they almost did not have the strength to feed their milk. In the face of these threats, they attacked with all their might, and then killed these guys. Clean. But Yi Lin was actually a bit unlucky. To tell the truth, most of the puppets he smoked were drawn by him spending a lot of points. Usually, he piled up a lot of them. Now using them is naturally equivalent to cleaning the warehouse. Therefore, they all fell on the head of the ninja coalition, and the number of people was too large for a while, making them unable to parry, and they fell back. Seeing this, Yi Lin knew that he had gone too far, so he hurriedly recovered some of his puppets and let them return to the traditional system. But at this time, the ninja coalition has suffered heavy losses. They never thought that there would be so many troops on this island. It seems that this island is really unfathomable. Those Hueco Mundo forces said still very powerful. However, most of the injured are actually some Chunin or Genin. In order to shake all the ninjas in their ninja village, the ninja coalition joined the war. Genin was also sent to the battlefield. Advertisement, of course, it's all logistical work. The backbone is still some. You can use the regular ninjutsu Chunin and some Jonin who are very strong in various fields, or the special police Jonin who only has some achievements in 1 or 2 fields. As the shadow of a village, Hokage and others were naturally not threatened. They even felt that these things were sent to people without any meaning to kill, so they gave them to the ninjas under their hands to attack. What they were looking at was the farther side, where the puppets had landed. They found a strange teleportation formation, which was set up by Yi Lin, in order to let the ninja coalition understand that the Hueco Mundo force cannot change so many ghosts, or puppets, out of thin air. They were confident, so they created a formation that made it easier for them to understand. Wang believed it to be true, and really thought it was the puppets who summoned Yun by that formation, so they thought of rushing to that place as soon as possible and completely destroying the formation. But just based on their strength, how could they possibly destroy the formation set up by Yi Lin? So in the first time, when they arrived, even if they hooked a ninjutsu that was only tentative, Yi Lin was equivalent to a gap between them, and they released their own formation and released it. In order to take care of their self-esteem, they pretended that the formation was destroyed, making them think that they destroyed the summoning formation themselves. But it was actually Yi Lin who cancelled it himself. After cancelling the summoning formation, Yi Lin's puppet naturally had no way to be summoned from the formation. Yi Lin watched helplessly as the People's Coalition completely wiped out some of his puppets. At this time, he immediately knew that these ninja connections had finally regained their confidence. They finally felt that they could be said to be on this island now. Invincible, nothing can stop them. But Yi Lin can only tell them they're terribly wrong. This is just an appetizer. It will give you a little confidence to keep going. Otherwise, you will be persuaded to leave on the spot before you enter the door. Then there will be no audience for his drama. The movie doesn't make any sense anymore. The 5 shadows retreated, returned to their own troops, and continued to move forward with the troops. Jiraiya said that as the ninja with the most voice in the ninja coalition, he has always been cautious. The troops continued to walk forward, and the field of vision in front of them gradually became wider, and there were no longer any blocking objects around. Advertisement Raikage nodded even more and patted his brother on the shoulder. Killer Bee could only nod when he heard his eldest brother speak, but he knew that his eldest brother was more of an enemy than himself, and he didn't take this island seriously at all. In his opinion, both his own and the Thunderstrike can split the island in half. Everyone is ready to fight danger from everywhere. Don't take it lightly, we're not completely out of danger just yet. The other cage-level powerhouses also nodded their heads. They're the elites of the ninja world. If they fall, the ninja world will only be overturned. It seems that the so-called Oni Island is not so scary. Seeing his troops start to win, Killer Bee began to joke. Jiraiya said, I don't think it's that simple, we just went to the island and these may just be a means to let us take 487 lightly. His arrogance is the greatest of all shadows. But now even he was admonishing himself to be cautious, so Killer Bee wouldn't say much. But the people around them shook their heads in denial. Although it is not a shadow, it has more right to speak than a shadow. Mountains and rocks also fell behind. There are few obstructions here, the view is very wide, and it is the best place to release for the large ninjutsu. Chapter 263 Head-on Attack. Although this place looks very open, it may be a trap if it is not properly maintained. For example, in Iwagakure, the land of the earth, they once saw a large piece of land collapse completely, burying all the ninja army in it. Therefore, Rock Shinobi has become a village until now, so that other shinobi villages dare not underestimate the existence. Their terrain is very strange, and there is no thought of wanting to enter it. Not only is it more rocky, but more trapped beasts. Although there seems to be no possibility of setting traps in this place at the moment, if this large area is completely submerged and all of them are swallowed in, then their entire coalition army will be annihilated, more than worth the loss. Therefore, as the shadows of a village, the 5 shadows immediately decided to send the vanguard troops to test it out, carefully exploring the ground like a landmine to find all the possibilities of being trapped. And those vanguard troops are mostly composed of perception troops, and they are best at detection. Whether it is to detect each other's psychology or topography is a good hand.
Each shinobi village has its own unique perception force. As the foundation of the intelligence force, they each have their own boots, regardless of each other.
For example, the secret signal troops of Wuyan village can use extremely clever methods to search for the enemy's traces and report to their own troops. And that kind of method is to disguise as the other party's personnel transformation technique, which is very advanced and makes people unable to recognize it for a while. For this reason, following the communication of the cipher troops, absolute encryption in real time is required. At the same time, the password that exceeds even 3 hours will be invalid. Such a unit caused other villages a lot of trouble in previous wars. But because the country of water is relatively remote, so even if other countries hate their family and hate their ninjas very much, there is nothing they can do. The land of water has always been relatively intact, because they are an international group of archipelagos and have natural advantages in water warfare. Other ninja villages are from the mainland, and it is not wise to fight ninjas in the land of water on a boat. But in the same way, even if the ninjas from the ninja village in the land of water came to the mainland, they were still inferior to other ninja villages. Advertisement: a lack of water is deadly to them, and can greatly reduce their offensive capabilities, leaving their troops stagnant and unable to continue their advance. So all this time they have only been harassing the kingdom and the land of fire along the coast. The small planting area makes them very fond of plundering, not only plundering food but also money, and even the land is small. Expanding themselves from the island to the mainland is only due to lack of money and food, so they have always been just harassment. In the final analysis, they have no ability to occupy, and have always been excluded from the war on the mainland. Consider items to consider. The perception troops moved forward cautiously, carefully investigating every step they took, for fear that they would miss any news and fall into a dead end. But before they finished their investigation, they discovered the strangeness around them. There are 4 pillars inserted in the 4 corners of this open space, as if they were some kind of enchantment. After Wu Yingmen got the news, they immediately went to those pillars to check the situation. However, the moment they ran over, Yi Lin immediately opened the first battlefield on this floor. This battlefield is guarded by a field boss. He is Jerry, one of the 3 disasters of Kaido who ate the elephant fruit. Jia's stature is very huge, although it is far inferior to Kaido, the beast that eats the whale fruit, but his ability is still very scary. It can turn into an incomparably huge mammoth, and the mammoth beauty is enough to make the earthquake shatter when she steps on the ground. The ninja coalition forces looked at this terrifying guy and saw that he had a sharp horn on his head, and that he was wearing a black cloak. His body was so huge that he really looked like an elephant. But in fact, his size is equivalent to a mammoth, or he himself is a mammoth. Reaching out the hook and slamming it on the ground, the ninja allied forces were immediately shaken, their feet had to leave the ground, and their bodies trembled. "Oh my god, what a monster!" they shouted in horror. This is not the same level as the puppets they fought against before.
Advertisement. They didn't expect that the group of guys they tried their best to eliminate was nothing at all.
Therefore, in order to allow their coalition forces to rest a little, they wanted to use the strategy of delaying troops. Thinking of this, the ninja allied forces immediately became furious, cheering each other up and attacking the front. In this way, those guys can only be said to be some small monsters, and the scene they encountered now is the real boss. Transformed into a huge mammoth, stepping on the ninja coalition like a monster. Although they said that they had seen giants almost similar to this giant mammoth on the seabed, but those giants were on the seabed after all, not on land, and they did not face him directly to fight, and now he suddenly hooked up and led him. When people feel fear, it is even more frightening. "Who are you?" They were hopeful that they would try to talk to him to give their troops some respite. The 5 shadows did not expect that this guy actually possessed such a powerful power. Mammoth stepped forward fiercely, and no ninja could stop him. However, Jia just slammed his fist into the ground and slammed it down, completely breaking their attack. The earth-style wall they had erected was easily shattered by this blow, shattered into foam, and scattered in the air. In order to cover his troops, Onogi walked over and used the real-world stripping technique to completely decompose the guy in front of him. Where have the ninja allied forces ever seen such a huge creature? So he didn't say anything, just rushed forward, and immediately showed his strongest form, Mammoth State. This guy must be the master of the Island of Ghosts. He is most likely the Ghost King. Or the Virtual King, 99. But Jia is a pirate who is not good at words. When the other party asked who he was, he didn't want to say anything, and he didn't even bother to say it. Anyway, the other party was going to die, so let them die directly. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. What's the use of knowing who he is, Qian Zhao, and in the end, he was nothing more than carrying his name to go to hell. Chapter 264 3 Major Disasters. But because the realm stripping technique requires a lot of chara, the old onogi can only use it once or twice. For the first time, because he did not adjust the angle properly, he did not seriously injure the mammoth in front of him, but only injured one of his fangs, turning that fang into dust. When AII saw this, he understood that this trick was very terrifying. If he hit another blow, he would probably die. After all, he is not like his Captain Kaido, who has the ability to be almost immortal. He is still very afraid of death, so in the face of such an attack, he can only choose to retreat temporarily. In order not to let him hurt himself again, he chose to move at a high speed and withdrew from the rear. However, he also knew that if he ran back like this, Kaido would definitely cut off his head. So halfway through the run, he stopped again, readjusted his angle, and launched a desperate charge against the guy who could threaten him. Oyemu didn't expect that after this guy was forced back by himself, he would still want to come back, so he immediately formed a seal and wanted to use the original world stripping technique 487 again. However, this time it takes a very long time, because the supply of his chara has been insufficient, and he must use all his chara to bypass it. Seeing this, the other shadows also saw this situation, and they knew that they had to cover Onogi, so even if they rushed up, the mammoth in front of them made a fight, and the ninja coalition also received orders for a while. Bent the mammoth launched a powerful attack. Suddenly, the overwhelming fireball technique came towards the mammoth. Because of the thick fur on the surface of the mammoth, when it was burned by the flames, its whole body was on fire, and it was immediately defeated, but it still did not retreat. He is very solid and reliable, the most reliable of the 3 Kaido disasters. Even if the other 2 disasters have escaped too much, he will not escape. His level of loyalty cannot be surpassed by anyone, so even if he dies, he will die on the battlefield and let his captain collect the body for him. So he rushed forward desperately like a stalker, and the momentum he brought was even enough to make the mountains collapse and the river, AGCG, to stop flowing. But his strength is limited after all, and he eventually fell under the attack of the Lu Ninja allied forces, especially under Onogi's original world stripping technique. Ah! Advertisement with a dying cry of the hook, he collapsed like a mountain. He fell to the ground and crushed a large number of ninjas to death. The 5 shadows immediately ordered everyone to retreat, and launched a final blow on him, knocking him down completely. It's finally over. Seeing the powerful enemy in front of them finally fall, all the ninjas burst into tears. They did not expect that this island has such a terrifying thing. After the fall of Jia, one of the 3 major disasters, the battlefield also collapsed, the 4 enchantment pillars were completely shattered, and a passage was hooked in front of the ninja coalition. The 5 shadows looked at the ninjas under them, and their hearts were broken. Although they were themselves, they consumed a little Zarira, but they were still very small, and they could survive on their own, but these ninjas in their hands were not very good. Therefore, they chose to tell the ninjas of their own at the first time, let them rest in place, and no longer arbitrarily bend forward to probe. If they want to attack, they will attack with the whole army, and they will never act alone. After finally resting for a long time, after all the ninjas almost finished their dry food, the 5 shadows judged that those who can no longer rest now must attack as soon as possible, otherwise, the ninjas will once take their own food. After the food is eaten, the army will start to chaotic, the idea of retreating, and no further attack. It is very scary for a unit to have no morale. In order not to shake the hearts of their ninjas, the 5 shadows decided to lead by example, kicking their troops at the front and blocking all attacks. When the ninja coalition forces saw their shadows make such a move, they burst into tears. They know that their shadows are the best shadows in the world, and they are completely for their sake. They will never have peace until this island of ghosts is removed. Therefore, under the encouragement of the leader, they immediately regained their morale and marched forward in high spirits. The second battlefield is guarded by Quinn, one of Kaido's 3 major disasters. Quinn is not as stern as Jay. He is a guy who talks a lot. The moment the ninja coalition came in, he immediately began to ridicule. Ha ha ha. Look what came in, why'd I look like piles of corpses? 93. He sarcastically said that one of his arms had been transformed to emit poisonous gas and create a plague.
Advertisement. Plague is almost deadly to the military, so Quinn was so happy when he saw the ninja coalition send a large number of troops in.
Today's first feat he is going to decide. He wants to kill all these ninja coalition forces. And by that time, he was the one who killed the most. All these guys are going to be buried here. Upon seeing this, the shadows immediately became serious and ordered their troops to start taking a defensive stance. Seeing how these people were not moving, Quinn took the initiative to walk forward and sprayed poisonous gas from his hands to release the plague. Soon, the first ninja fell, and the second and third ninja also foamed at the mouth and died instantly. Medical ninjas mobilized immediately and began to treat the injuries of these people. But the plague is not so easy to get rid of, so most of those medical ninjas were also infected, and finally slowly fell to the ground, their faces blue and green. This method of death was so cruel that the ninjas stepped back and did not dare to take a step forward. They stayed far away from the infected corpses. When the filmmakers saw this situation, they raised the alarm with regret in their hearts. He didn't expect that his ninjas didn't die on the battlefield, under the guns of the police, but fell into the plague. It seems that this guy must be dealt with quickly, otherwise all of his people will die in this plague. So they immediately began to join forces and prepared to use the plan agreed at the beginning to maximize the attack on the enemy, unlike the way they fought each other when they first encountered the enemy. At this time, they began to have combo tactics. First Raikage took the lead, followed by Mizukage unleashing mist to confuse opponents. And then the super support attack of Hokage and Tsuchikage. Chapter 265 Tail Beast Symphony Yi. The power of the shadows made everyone excited, the momentum was too strong, and Quinn couldn't resist it. He didn't expect these guys to be incomparably small, but they could burst out with such powerful power, so when they were retreating, he immediately used the power of his devil fruit. Its fruit is not like the elephant fruit, but the dragon fruit. He can turn himself into a Brachiosaurus, and Brachiosaurus can launch the most powerful attack on the enemy. So his stature began to grow bigger, even bigger than a mammoth. In the next time, he launched a head hammer attack on these ninja coalition forces. First, he jumped up in the air, then fell down in midair and smashed a deep pit on the ground with his own head. Although it looked stupid, the power was indeed very strong, which made the ninja coalition very helpless. There is no way to parry. But there is nothing special about this move, and the shadows also know that this is just an ordinary physical attack, so they immediately ordered all ninjas to deploy earth-style defense, and use the dungeon to seal themselves up to avoid taking too much damage when they are smashed. But this is not worth mentioning to Quinn at all. He bent down and smashed again, and the ninjas were killed and wounded. There were corpses everywhere, and almost everyone died here. However, at this time, Killer Bee suddenly couldn't sit still and kneel. He finally released his tail beast, summoned 8 tails, and took the form of a tail beast. Killer Bee is one of the best at Cloud Shinobi Village. 8 tailed beasts, Gyuki, are sealed within him. Gyuki's power is so terrifying that in the past he was even able to fight 9 tails, and even far surpassed it in power. Now that Chin Lai was finally summoned, he was not even at a disadvantage against Quinn's Brachiosaurus. Tailed Beast 8 volumes. After using the hook, the entire field was shaken, as if being sucked in. Quinn's Brachiosaurus was also affected and was completely involved. What? How is it possible? He shouted. His body was really out of control at all, completely entangled. And it was at this time that Gyuki condensed his own tailed beast Zara, created a tailed beast Jade, bent the Brachiosaurus and fired it away. Quinn couldn't handle this move at all, and was pierced by the tailed beast Jade on the spot. His heart fell to the ground, and he died miserably. Advertisement. What? It's even weaker than the one just now. Killer Bee jokingly said that he kept talking about rap. Seeing Killer Bee using his own tail beast real body, the other Jinchuriki who are also Jinchuriki finally couldn't sit still and began to release their tail beast real body. 2 tails, 3 tails, 4 tails, 5 tails, 6 tails, 7 tails, 8 tails, 9 tails. A total of 9 tails beasts have appeared on the battlefield. Fill all the small battlefields. When the ninja coalition forces saw all kinds of tailed beasts gathered together, they suddenly had great self-confidence and encouraged themselves once again. The tailed beast clears the way. Then we will definitely be able to successfully eliminate all the remaining forces on this island. They thought. The tailed beast also began to move its huge footsteps, moving forward step by step. They entered the third battlefield, which was guarded by Jin, the boss of one of Kaido's 3 disasters. He slowly walked into the battlefield. Everyone looked at him and found that he was wearing a helmet and a mask on his head. A raging flame seemed to be blazing behind him, and a tachi was guarding his waist. It seems that the comers are not good, so everyone does not take it lightly. But as the tailed beast Jinchuriki, Killer Bee's size directly overwhelms Yu, one of the 3 major disasters in front of him. So they chose to attack first and see what choices would be made. However, Jin didn't take it lightly. He didn't even use the power of his human form, but immediately transformed into a dinosaur form, a toothless pterosaur. Unlike ordinary pterosaurs, his toothless pterosaurs can unleash hook flames to push enemies into a corner.
So he flapped his wings and flew into the sky. All the ninjas began to look up in the sky, trying to see the appearance of this pterosaur.
But the moment they saw it clearly, the pterosaurs began to dive, and the countryside rushed to burn everyone to death. Advertisement as a result. A roaring flame spewed out of his mouth, and the ninjas couldn't be bothered, and were burned. Seeing this, the tailed beasts did not choose to escape, but stood up immediately to block the damage for the ninjas. 0. Ask for flowers. Seeing that these huge guys finally started to fight back against him, Yu began to analyze the current situation carefully. These guys are all fighting on the ground. Although they can shoot a powerful energy from their mouths, they still have to hit him and go around. If his movements are fast enough in the sky, then their attacks are basically useless. In other words, their attack can be circumvented. As a result, it started to move at high speed in the sky, and it moved very fast, so the tailed beast on the ground could not aim at it, and there was no way to strike him accurately and effectively. Although their tailed beast Jade is said to be very powerful, it must hit the opponent and go around. Now flying in the sky, the speed is very fast, and the distance is also very far. He can launch any attack on them, but they can only hold their heads and be beaten. It is impossible to continue like this, so there must be a unified measure. So they began to discuss countermeasures, and finally came up with a solution, which was to launch the tailed beast cannon into the sky. What is a tail beast cannon? The power of the tail beast cannon is similar to that of the tail beast Jade, but one is a continuous eruption, while the other is a brief explosion. Every tailed beast will have a tailed beast cannon, and the power is almost the same, but it requires a lot of tailed beast chara. Under normal circumstances, they will not use it because the effect will not be very good. But now there is no room for negotiation. If they don't shoot down this guy flying in the sky, then the last person to die must be them. The flames erupting under the Dragon Bay in the sky are very lethal. Although they burn for a while and can't cause any substantial damage to him, it is also very annoying. So the tailed beasts began to gather together, and in the sky, they were ready to launch a cannonball net composed of tailed beast cannons, trying to knock down the dragon completely. They gathered up their strength and suddenly sprayed into the sky. 9 turbulent and powerful terrifying forces instantly penetrated the sky. Loss.